in to actually start to think about teenage girls and future planning and to include it in the operational plan. So I very much encourage you all to vote in favour of it this evening. And while we won't be staying for the entire meeting, and believe me, that's a blessing, we'd get noisy, when the girls get up in the morning, I have promised them that we will be watching the recording of it. So they're very keen to hear the outcome. So thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms Hume. In relation to the same motion, I call Ms Sierra Bromwich joining us on Teams.
Hi. Okay. Well, I really appreciated. I can't remember what her name is, but what the previous person said, because it encompassed a lot of the things that I wanted to say about this motion. Also, as a mum of a young daughter, I really think this kind of speaks to a bit of a legacy for the council that I think we can be building into the future, and it's a really heartening to see such a inclusive and future-focused kind of emotion coming up here at council. So I strongly urge us to support the motion, but I think the things that I wanted to add to it is, I think sometimes these kind of motions where we are consulting with a particular group can be seen as a form of, sometimes people see them as a form of exclusion or like not considering a particular group or whatever. And I think I think we need to look beyond that in this case, and in general, because we can see when you look at the use of parks, as the previous speaker has said, it's very clear that they don't necessarily all work for everyone, and so we need to do co-design of parks is really important, to work with those groups. Using universal design to work with those groups that are that may not be fully included equitably in our parks, and actually bring their voices in. And it's not about excluding a particular group. It's actually about making it more inclusive for everybody to be able to work. And this is kind of a really well-researched area and we know that teenage girls are really a group that needs to be included more, and especially I think gender diverse young people as well. And it's great to see that kind of acknowledged in the motion. So I think it'll be really great to see this motion coming to fruition in that what the proposal is general manager. And I also wanted to say it's in terms of we're in a time where youth mental health and loneliness and also concerns about gender-based violence and problematic gender dynamics are a really big concern, and social isolation, online harms, all that stuff is a really big concern. And I think this designing our public spaces more equitably and inclusively is a really important step towards addressing those in a future-focused way that's really supporting our entire community. So I urge the councillors to support this motion. It's a really inclusive and wonderful thing for our legacy.
Thank you, Ms Bromwich. There being no further speakers in the public forum, I declare the public forum closed at 6:49 p.m. The council meeting will commence at 7 p.m. Thank you. Welcome to councillors, members of the public and staff. My name is Ed McDougall, Mayor of Bayside, and I declare this meeting of Bayside Council open at 7:05 p.m. Councillors and those present in the chamber are reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual and use appropriate language and tone. Council meetings are live streamed and recorded via YouTube. Please therefore treat everyone with dignity, respect and do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Councillors are reminded of your obligations to conduct yourselves in a professional and respectful manner under the obligations of Council's Code of Meeting Practice in the interest of good governance and to adhere to meeting etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of Council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instruction of the Council staff, exit via the Town Hall foyer and proceed to the evacuation point. To begin, I'd like to acknowledge country. National Reconciliation Week takes place from the 27th of May today to the 3rd of June. The 2026 theme is All In, which urges every single Australian to step away from the sidelines and commit to taking meaningful, ongoing action towards reconciliation in everything they do. Bayside Council yesterday held a National Reconciliation Week ceremony at Rockdale Town Hall here with keynote speaker Brendan Matthews and Auntie Barb in attendance to discuss the importance of reconciliation, truth-telling and shared responsibility. We were going to be joined this evening by Auntie Barb, but unfortunately she's been a late cancellation. But I would like to acknowledge the Bidjul clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we live and work, and also pay my respects to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. On behalf of Bayside Council, I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I now invite Pastor Andrew Harper from Bay City Church to open our meeting in prayer. Thank you, Pastor Harper.
Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. God, as I normally do here, God, we just pray for those that are doing it tough. God, we pray for our community right now as we understand that there are probably more needs than we've ever seen. God, we just pray for those that have been swept into this latest crisis of cost of living. God, for those families that are living in cars at the moment, God, couch surfing young people, God, people that are queuing with our services in this area for essential foods, God. We just pray, Father God, for those families. God, we would bring them comfort right now. God, we would bring answers as a community. God, we pray for housing to open up, God. We just pray, Father, for the stress on those families, those marriages, and every single person swept into this at the moment. And as a community, God, we just lift them up to you. And God, as always, God, I just pray for this council, God. I pray for every councillor. I pray for their homes and their families, God. And I thank you and honour them for their commitment to our community and our mayor as well, God. I just pray for your protection over him. And finally, God, I also just pray for New South Wales tonight. In your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Harper. Go the Blues. Received no condolences this evening. Does any councillor have any condolences to put forward? Councillor Barlow.
I'd just like to make a comment about the passing of Joan Rankin, that she was a valuable member of our community and Lidham Hall was her second home basically every Sunday. And she also, I met her in 1995 when we were running against each other. She was Ron Rathbone's team and I was this lady that wanted to save the house. And she also, at ERTAG, I don't think anyone's heard of ERTAG, which was the Elwood Rockdale Transport Action Group, and they were very active for getting the M5 built. And so she really worked tireless of the area, and so I'm just giving sympathy to Jeff. But the funeral was last Wednesday.
Councillors, anything further? Thank you. We acknowledge the condolence. We have a number of certificates to some really outstanding local community members to present this evening, beginning with Camilo Shying Navarrete, sorry for how badly I got that wrong, an incredibly talented young athlete from our Bayside community. Camilo and his team took part in the Emerging Socceroos Championship in Glenwood last month. And we're really delighted to learn that Camilo and his team won the Under-16 Championships. They were playing against selective teams from right across the country, from Queensland, Victoria, the Capital Territory, Northern New South Wales and Western Australia. Camilo played in every match and was an integral part of the squad. On behalf of Bayside Council, I congratulate Camillo and his family on this amazing achievement. I'd like to invite Camillo to please come forward and accept this certificate of congratulations from our council, and any councillors are very welcome to join us.
You can come up if you want to take place.
You can get in the photo as well.
Next up, I'm very delighted to recognise Isabella Gibbons, another very talented young athlete from Bayside. She recently competed at the 2026 Australian Age Championships for swimming on the Gold Coast. Isabella swam well in the competition heats, considering this was her first time on the national stage, and did a fantastic job representing our community. On behalf of Bayside Council, I'd like to congratulate Isabella on this amazing achievement and would like to invite her to come forward and accept this certificate of recognition from Council. And last up this evening, councillors, it's my pleasure to recognise Bayside community member Tony Pengui for his outstanding dedication to raising awareness of youth suicide and mental health through the annual Burleigh Big Bash. Through his advocacy, leadership and commitment to supporting others, Tony has made a meaningful difference to many young people and families across our community. On behalf of Bayside Council, I'd like to sincerely thank Tony for his service to the community. We'd like to invite Tony to please come forward and accept this certificate of congratulations from Council, and any interested councillors are welcome to join us.
It's a conflict. It's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. It's Alison Wright. Chookin from Alison Wright.
Can I just say thanks for your support with the Burleigh Big Bash as well. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you and congratulations once again. We have no apologies this evening, but we do have Councillor Kasim wishing to participate in the meeting via audio-visual link. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Morrissey. All those in favour, all those against, allowing Councillor Kasim to participate. Declare that carried. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosures of interest? Councillor Curry? No. Morrissey? No. Councillor Bezic? No. Councillor Boudelet? No. Councillor Strong?
Just 13.1, the Dolls Point Wharf. Just because I'm a member of the Georges River Sailing Club, I see the wharf most Sundays, and my youngest, sometimes after sailing, likes to go fishing off it. But that's it.
I assume that's a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest. Councillor Kasim? So no. No. Councillor Brederhoft? Councillor Saravinovsky? No. Councillor Naji? No. Councillor Dusku? No. Councillor Awada?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 13.7, Intersection Improvement Program, Bexley and Slade Road, Bexley North. Declare a significant non-pecuniary interest on the basis that family-owned property in the close proximity. I will be leaving the meeting for discussion and voting on the item. Thank you.
Councillor Barlow? Councillor Poulos? Councillor Douglas? Myself, nothing. Minutes of the previous meeting, councillor to move and second, moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Rawada. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Just like to open the meeting with a mayoral minute, which I take as read. But I just think that given the impact on our community of the events on December 14, and particularly that 2 local residents lost their lives and another young man who was deeply connected to the Bayside community, I think it would be, and I say it came about after a member of Peter Maher's family reached out to council. But I think it would be fitting for our council to have some reasonable localised tributes to these people whose lives were taken. They were murdered in what is Australia's worst terrorist incident. I find it very difficult to talk about. I think this is a horror. The scars that will be felt by these families, I think nothing will ever make this all right. But I think it's important that we as a council do make some small acknowledgement of their lives in our area. Does any councillor wish to add anything further?
Fully support.
Thank you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Items by exception, councillors, other than the substantive items that planning matters, notices of motion, etc. Are there any other items that you wish to deal with individually? Councillor Curry?
Yeah, 11.2, please.
Councillor Morrissey?
No.
Councillor Bezic?
No.
Councillor Boudelet? No. Councillor Strong?
CPE 26, just the committee report, Brighton Master Plan feasibility study.
One, 010. Councillor Kasim?
No, thank you.
Councillor Brederhoft?
CS 26024.
Yes. Councillor Savranovsky?
No.
Councillor Naji?
Yes, CS 26023.
Thank you. Councillor Dusku?
Yep, 26.011.
Which committee, sorry?
CPE.
CPE 26.011. Thank you. Councillor Wada? Councillor Barlow?
26022. 26024.
Yep.
26025. BLT 26035.
That's designated e-mobility shared device parking bay as Walleye Creek and Mascot. Councillor Poulos?
Can I just check we have CPE 26.011?
Correct. Yeah. Councillor Douglas? And myself, nothing further.
Sorry, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Ryder?
Was CPE 26.010 pulled out?
Yes.
Well, in that case, I have to go back to declaring interest on that, if I may. CPE 26.010 proposed Brighton and Sand and Bay Street Master Plan update. Declare a significant non-pecuniary interest on the basis that family friends may have a property in the precinct identified in the report, and I will leave the meeting for discussion and not vote on the item.
All right, thank you, Councillor Ryder. Councillors, do I have a motion to adopt the rest of the business paper? Move Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Bezic. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We now move to the first report, item 11.2, statutory financial report, April 2026. Oh, sorry, item 11.1, mayoral and council task force supporting people seeking asylum. Call for nominations. We need to nominate 2 councillors to represent council on the mayoral and councillor task force for people seeking asylum. Do I have a mover and a seconder? I move Councillor Brederhoft, second Councillor Strong. We have two people interested in attending. I see Councillor Savranovsky, Douglas and Brederhoft stuck their hands up. All right. So I think those leaves Councillor Brederhoft and Sarah Banovsky have a motion that they represent council on the task force. Any discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 11.2, statutory financial report, April 2026. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Awada. Any discussion, councillors? Councillor Curry, you pulled this out. Councillor Morrissey.
I'll speak on behalf of Councillor Curry as well. It's quite a topic that comes up with our financial reporting, and it was a question to the director. Just as an overall view, we've just got a lot of motions and over recent months, not only in terms that it's going to cost us more money as a council, but also the time and effort with staff, which there's a cost to that, because if they get diverted from their core tasks, then we have to find other staff or pay over, or there gets a backlog. So we just wanted just a very brief comment, and I'm sorry there's no notice on this, just by how are we doing as a council this year, and how are the potential notices that are coming through impacting our probably short to medium term budget. We know we've got the long-term financial plan, but if over the next, say, 12 to 18 months.
Mr. Sheridan.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think when we talk about financial sustainability, I guess we look at three areas. There's the asset renewal burden. So in the long-term financial plan, we talk about having 90 million, which means that we've got more capital bids than we actually do have money to fund. And we do rely on grants, but grants aren't given. So over time, we can close that gap. But yeah, we do have a gap in that area. We've got cost escalations at the moment with obviously taking on new assets, the maintenance of new assets, and then we've got service demand growth. So they're the three things that are kind of really impacting us. Unfortunately, the notice of motions talk to most of those. They ask us to either build new things or increase services. We build our CSP and our operating plan around allocating our staff to all those tasks. So when we actually divert staff off that, it means we can't deliver those tasks. So either we have to get consultants or contractors, or increases our costs. So that's the main problem we keep having with notice of motions, is that it keeps shifting the goalposts for us, which makes us harder to deliver and obviously increases cost over time. So yeah, at the moment we're balanced in the first couple of years, but take it out after 4 or 5 years, we're struggling with that $90 million shortfall, which we've got to either make savings, increase revenue, or divert some capital works that we can't afford.
Thank you, Mr. Sheridan. Councillor Morrissey.
Yeah, just a suggestion, and I know that the General Manager's been quite proactive recently in addressing that in recommendations. So I'd really think on behalf of all of us, those comments are hugely valuable. So if we're seeing, we'd like to see, well, me, if everyone's agreeing, we'd like to see that continue to the point where we say, well, if this happens, here's the things that need to stop, or it's going to have an X $1 million impact, or whatever it might be. So I want to commend the GM for the comments. I think it's time because there is so much expenditure, we've got to be financially sustainable and be aware of that when we're putting these notices of motion, not only, as I said, for the capital expenditure, but the future depreciation. We've got a huge depreciation issue, and we've also got staff costs on top of that. So we just have to have some thought put into that when we are submitting notice of motions, and ask the General Manager and the Directors to maintain that diligence on their commentary to help us inform those decisions. Thank you.
Councillor Morrissey. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour, all those against, declare it carried. Item CPE 26.010, do I have a mover to seconder? The Bridal Sands Master Plan. Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Curry. Any discussion, councillors? Councillor Douglas.
I have a foreshadowed motion that I'd like to put up, please, which I have sent to the staff. So basically, this is really a very important piece of work to me, doing a new town centre master plan, responding to the council since 2020, since before I was on council, to alleviate the hooning issues, make a town centre that we can be proud of, where we can dine out in peace, in harmony, where we can put events on, We've had some really successful activations on Bay Street, but what we found from those weekend Streets Alive
Sorry,
style
Mr Mayor,
events...
if that's the master plan...
Oh, sorry, Councillor Awada. Please give Councillor Awada a moment to leave. Apologies.
So we've had some really fantastic street activations there where we've temporarily closed off Bay Street so that we can have more people on the streets, more fairs, activities. But what we found is that it's really expensive for council. I think it was in the ballpark of $160,000 to close off the street for a weekend, which is not sustainable for us to run events. Where if you compare that to somewhere like Carlton and the fantastic Carlton on Parade event that we had like a week ago, we don't have to pay for the street closure for that. So all the money then instead goes into the activities. So we've seen really positive feedback from the community on closing Bay Street and pedestrianising it, and that was where this sentiment came from originally with my notice of motion back in November 2024 for a town master plan. That came back to council as a suggestion for a complete streets approach, which is a people-focused approach, and we all agreed that we supported that. And then somewhere along the line, it became a master plan that built out Brighton, that made a significant uplift, significant more housing. There's been a big community pushback against that. We are already trying to work on a master plan at Rockdale, which increases public amenities through a fantastic town centre plan, where we get a new park, where we get a new arts and culture centre, where we get a new civic centre, we get a splash park, we get an Eat Street, we get a new full-line supermarket in Rockdale. But unfortunately, people aren't focused on the positives. They're focused on the high-rise, which is stipulated from the state government as transport-oriented development. So we risk losing all the good work that council's put in over many years to get that Rockdale master plan because of the high-rise element there. And I feel that we really don't have a choice with Rockdale because it is a state-imposed transport-oriented development. What we're trying to do is make it the best it can be so that we absorb that housing target, but we make it a people-centred approach. At Brighton, we don't have to add a huge housing target. We can just make that people-centred approach. If the state government comes back later and says you need to impose more housing in Brighton, well, we can cross that bridge when we come to it. But we don't need to do that now. We don't need to shock our community into fear around what could be there with 20 stories in the feasibility study, 10 stories in large blocks around Brighton. What we can focus on and what we have agreed to focus on as a council previously is that complete streets approach. Let's get the Bay Street precinct right. Let's make that a beautiful coastal town centre like Cronulla, like Manly. There's so many precedents for beautiful malls on coastal suburbs where people can enjoy al fresco eating, feel comfortable and safe. So that's why my foreshadowed motion here is that council not proceed with the master plan for the whole Brighton Les Sands and proceed only with the public domain complete streets project focused on Bay Street and the immediate town centre area.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Further discussion, councillors? Councillor Strong.
I also emailed to governance an amendment suggestion for the master plan. I just wanted to speak about my concerns for it, and I want to acknowledge I understand that many residents are deeply anxious about the future of Brighton Les Sands and surrounding areas with the plan the way it is. People are worried about overdevelopment, congestion, overshadowing, loss of character, pressure on infrastructure, and the feeling that communities are too often expected to absorb.
Sorry, Councillor, just a point of order, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to clarify what we're amending, because if it's an amendment to the original motion, which was moved by me, if that's what Councillor Strong is speaking, or is seeking an amendment to the foreshadowed motion, we have to be very clear on what we're talking about.
I think Councillor Strong is seeking an amendment to the original motion from reading this.
Am I right to be talking to it here?
Can I say sorry, can you just scroll down on the...
It was the original motion, but if this is not the right place to put this, then I'll wait.
So are these to add the additional points
Yes.
to the motion? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's an amendment
To the original.
to the original motion.
Do we need to deal with the Councillor Douglas's foreshadowed motion before?
No.
No, okay.
No, you debate the first motion first.
Okay. So yeah, the report is detailed in relation to transport modelling economic feasibility, but what struck me is much of the analysis focuses on what level, height and density is required to make redevelopment commercially viable. What's far less developed at this stage are the human and community outcomes that should justify growth in the first place, hence these amendments. Where are the affordable housing targets? Where's the detailed discussion for additional open space? The commitments around recreation, community centres, childcare, tree canopy, climate resilience and basically just quality of life. If we're contemplating building of 10, 15 or 20 stories in parts of Brighton, then the public benefits side of the equation must be front and centre from the very beginning. I want to be clear, I do not believe, I do believe council should engage in the strategic planning rather than simply abandoning the field to ad hoc state-level planning pathways. That's why I'm going for the amendment. But engagement does not mean giving a blank cheque to every framework put before us. Strategic planning should begin with the question, what kind of community do we want to create, not what level of uplift is required for redevelopment feasibility. So the amendments are there to try to promote affordable housing outcomes, green space, recreational provision, community infrastructure, overshadow protections, foreshore climate resilience, and I'm also proposing clarification that building heights identified in the feasibility modelling are exploratory metrics and do not represent the endorsed future planning controls. If this process proceeds, it must be proceeded in a way that community-focused, human-focused and generally balanced, not simply market-driven. Thank you.
Highly unusual, but I'm happy to accept those amendments, Councillor Strong.
Councillor Barlow.
I'm not going to accept every of them, but I don't think I can do it foreshadowed, but I totally was gobsmacked when I saw the report come out with just 10 stories. Oh, we'll do 20 stories up there and at the school. And no identification. I know it's in there now, but it should have been there at the beginning. You have Gibb Street and Far Street, which are our conservation area, our first conservation area, and they are small working cottages. I think it's 300 square metres, they're blocks. Why would they want their tiny little heritage cottages with a 10-storey building next to it? Now, this has been going on for I don't know how long, since 2018. I've got a timeline, and there's so much going on that I personally feel with the one in 2021 that was, it was thrown out of council because they were very unhappy with it. Totally different to what we've got now, where they had, the planning panel had a look at it. They agreed that it should be scaled down. It's not just one flat roof over every single item there. So I feel that I'd prefer to actually defer it, and I think you should have a presentation with everything that we've looked at, because we've got report after report after report. Now the one in 21 was thrown out, and I think I've been sarcastic. Election was coming up, but the residents at that time didn't want it. But they weren't blanket heights like this. They were scaled. So we had townhouses, we had whatever, not everything 10 stories. I know it's a feasibility, but you have an area there that is a conservation area. They are beautiful cottages. We finally saved them. And then up on the top of the hill, you've got, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a big old house there on the corner of some Bryant Street, or just back from Bryant Street on the hill. So you've got an area there that should be protected, and it shouldn't be overrun by large buildings. And I'm sorry, affordable housing sounds good. It is not affordable housing. Everyone's got to be clear. It's affordable rental housing, and the best thing out of the whole thing is the developer gets the benefit, nobody else. They can have up to 2 stories extra because we're going to provide some affordable housing. Affordable. So there's no benefit to anyone except the developer. And what you've done here, I feel that this should go back. We should have a briefing on everything that has been decided on, and that's what I'll move, is actually my foreshadow will be that we defer it till we get a full briefing on everything that is going on there, because you've got to understand the whole area. You've got to understand I've been through quite a few changes, and I think it was Crawford Road was one where it stopped. Another time when I had my ward boundary was changed and I had Bay Street up to West Botany Street. Totally again, different again. So as far as I'm concerned, we would be better to be fully informed by having a briefing so that we actually understand everything that has been put forward before, and you might find in there's something that really suits the area, not just this blanket 10 stories.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Further discussion? Do we have a second foreshadowed motion?
I'm
Councillor
going to
Poulos.
speak. Okay, as it stands, if we go with the current amendments by Councillor Strong, I want to have my name recorded against the committee recommendation and the changes. Tonight, I really shouldn't be here. I should be with my mum. Today's the anniversary of the death of my brother. He was a fatality on the road. He was only 15 years old. That's why I've always, now and in my previous term on council, been a strong advocate for pedestrian safety. That's why I campaigned to close Bay Street to create a pedestrian-friendly place. I also campaigned to fight against overdevelopment, and I intend to fulfil my pledge. This planning proposal, master plan, and the little changes that we're trying to make is too broad and too selective. There's no community appetite to implement it, and no one has a mandate to do it. So, nor is it acceptable for some of you who want to oppose an excessive planning regime, crazy building heights in parts of Brighton Le Sands that have never been subjected to this conversation because you don't want to do it in your own wards you represent. And you know it. I do not support raising the anxiety levels.
Point of order.
Order's been taken.
No.
A point of order's being taken.
Councillor Poulos was referencing you people in your wards
I didn't mention anyone's names.
No, you were looking straight at me.
No, I'm just looking across the way.
Okay, well,
sorry, Councillor Moritz.
I think perhaps
please,
rather
I've got
than
one more point to
arguing
say.
over the chamber-
And like I said to you, I don't want to be doing this tonight, but I'm here.
I think it could have been interpreted that way, so perhaps if there is
Okay,
not intended, that maybe you can...
That's
maybe
fine.
that.
I think we all know we all need to address the chair. And I
Okay,
think we
and
all
that's-
should stick to that
and
rather than
that's
look
fine.
at each other in this
So
chamber.
I've got one last point.
I don't know why it's
absolutely agree
getting
with that, and I'm
personal.
sure Councillor Poulos will follow that.
And I've got one more point. I don't support raising the anxiety levels of the residents, and I don't support giving this master plan the momentum to overwhelmingly change the amenity of Brighton Le Sands forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Poulos. Any further discussion, councillors? I'll say something more. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't actually going to speak on it, but because of the recent social media, I was named publicly that I'm the person that was after 25 stories or 20 stories in overdevelopment. I want to state on the record, the staff can correct me, I've never ever asked for 20 stories or higher or any overdevelopment. But I want to share some factual points just in recent times, and I'm a bit emotional about the loss of Councillor Poulos' brother. I've had long standing with the family and I know, and it's tough, and I'm so sorry, Councillor Poulos. Mr. Mayor, Brighton Le Sands is the jewel of this LGA. Everybody knows it, no doubt. Just want to take you back when it was Rockdale Council. The Rockdale Council spent over $1 million. It's called Destination Rockdale, which included the hub of Brighton Le Sands. The councillors of the day, they had the numbers, they spent over $1 million by doing CDs, and I'm sure some residents know that they distributed all the CDs and talked how they could have the pier and how they could have high-rise and so on, and nothing happened. Over $1 million of ratepayers' money, not my money, not yours, ratepayers was wasted. In 2018, to 2020, we've had 2 consultants come and brief the council. And some would say, 10 to 14 stories is doable, but it might have an impact on some overshadowing on the beach. And the argument was there's only a little area of overshadowing. And let me remind you, 10 to maybe 14, not 20 or 25 or 30. The argument was, and I was part of it, on the humorous side, no one sunbakes or no one swims in that particular area. All it was is big shrubs and a lot of rats runs around there, Mr. Mayor. So I didn't think there was an impact. But going back on track, the council at that time spent $210,000 ratepayers' money, thinking that we could do something about the jewel of Brighton-les-Sands. That's not including the considerable amount of staff time that was also spent. I can't put a dollar value, but let's say 50,000, 100,000. Let's move on. Another consultant was employed and gave us a different version. Don't go too high on the Grand Parade, go higher behind the Grand Parade. And we thought, no, if you want to keep it a suburban feel, you go a bit higher on the Grand Parade, facing the water, and keep it go downwards towards Crawford Street and keep it a suburban feel. Nothing has happened. The LEP, the last LEP, last council, only about 2 years ago, the staff spent so much time and effort, a great job through Mr. Peter Barber. All the staff worked with all the ward councillors, whether 5th Ward for 5th Ward, 3rd Ward for 3rd Ward, 2nd Ward, and so on and so on. They took all that information and came up with an idea. And guess what, Mr. Mayor? On the night that we thought we all agreed to, on the night, they pulled it out. It wasn't adopted. For whatever reason, I'm not going to get into it. I have my reasons for that. But they pulled that out. And it was only about 6, 8, and the most 10 stories down Bay Street. Nothing has happened. In November 2024, there was a nom submitted by Councillor Douglas and Councillor McDougall, but it was moved by Councillor Douglas and Councillor Poulos to integrate the Rockdale Master Plan with the Brighton Master Plan. We said, well, that's fine, that's good. Let's see what might come out of it. And I missed one point, Mr. Mayor. Between all these consultation, the state government was promoted as a Sydney version of the French Riviera. That's Brighton-les-Sands. That's what it was promoted as. Who remembers that? Any councillor's president was all over the media, all over the news, and nothing has happened. What concerns me now, we are going to spend $445,000 ratepayers' money, not mine, not yours, Mr. Mayor, or not any other councillors. And I'm not sure if anything will come out of it. I'm not saying we don't go there. I just want to point out the facts. We have spent over $2 million or more, and nothing has happened. And tonight, what I feel is we all have different opinions and which this is democracy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. I'd probably like to make a contribution if there's no further councillors. Anyone else wish to speak? No, I might add a brief contribution with your indulgence. I'd note, Councillor Naji, that I do totally agree that proposals around Brighton-les-Sands have been floating around for most of my lifetime. But I think now we have a moral imperative to move on with this. I think there is the need for urban renewal at Brighton-les-Sands, particularly along the Bay Street corridor. I know that the feasibility study is going out further than that. I think there is genuine need in that to seek feedback from residents. This is, for the purpose of residents here, this is a very preliminary decision. It goes through many iterations of public consultation before any final decision is actually made around rezoning. And I think there are some real questions in my mind to answer, particularly around the low density residential streets surrounding Bay Street. But as far as the Bay Street core goes, I don't think we've seen a single building go up, despite the fact that council rezoned it well before my time on council, and I've been on council now for nearly 10 years, along Bay Street. So that means that, people in shops, they have short-term leases because all the landowners are sort of just thinking about when to redevelop. We're seeing a lot of vacancies along Bay Street, which should be a major business hub for the community, and has so much more potential. Despite it is a great nightlife location, and I will note the recent investment in the hotel has made a real difference to the streetscape. But I do think we need to promote that more. But as far as housing goes, I think I would really like to make the point that I think we have a real moral imperative to take action. The city, I think it's been said again and again, but people between the ages of 30 and 40 are leaving Sydney at twice the rate that they arrive. And, it's often quoted that we'll be a city without grandchildren. But this is something that we felt very quickly and will only be exacerbated if we can't make what are sometimes tough decisions about changing our neighbourhoods. This problem is only going to get worse. Our population growth isn't going anywhere. People want to live in Sydney, but increasingly it will be young people, people in my age bracket and younger, who are priced out of Sydney. I don't want to see that happen, and I think there is a real need to take action. So I do support the master plan. I get that councillors have different views and come at this from different places, but I, for one, will be supporting moving forward with it. And I will note that contributions from Councillor Strong really speak to the sort of detailed planning work that needs to be done before we can move forward with this. These are all the requirements of a planning proposal, and that's work that council will necessarily need to do before any final decision is made. I think if there's any further discussion, councillors, put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Division. Division's been called. Councillor Curry. For. Councillor Morrissey. For. Councillor Bezic. Councillor Boudelot. Against. Councillor Strong. For. Councillor Brederhoft. Against. Councillor Saravinovsky. For. Councillor Naji. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Kassim.
In favour.
And myself for. Declare the motion lost. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Thank you, councillors. Item CP, can we invite Councillor Wyder back in? Oh, sorry, the foreshadowed motion, Councillor Douglas. Apologies. So there are two foreshadowed motions. One that, first Councillor Douglas's motion. Councillor Douglas.
I think this is something that we've all agreed on. We've found common ground on this, which is not an easy thing for a council to do, as we've just seen. Councillor Poulos has mentioned she supports this previously. She's had her own personal trauma with this. I've also had my own personal trauma. I almost got hit twice by dangerous drivers in 1 week. One was on the corner of Bay Street and the Grand Parade, and that's what led me to start a petition for safer streets back in 2020. Petitioning the council and the police to work to create safer streets in the area. Councillor Saravinovsky's father assisted with bringing a motion to council at that stage with a bunch of research and considerations that the Peaceful Bayside Action Group had done to try and get the council to take action on that issue, and I appreciate that council all endorsed that. All of those actions back in late 2020. And Councillor Poulos built on that and pushed for the closure of Bay Street. We had a photo shoot down there with Steve Camper and all the councillors there at that time. There was a big community groundswell, and that has been ongoing since 2020. I keep getting mentions on Facebook, let's pedestrianise Bay Street. Let's make a heart for our city, our town, our jewel of the Bay. So I hope that we can re-endorse this. We've already said that we come together on this. Let's continue with this. We've got this opportunity with the M6 starting back up again. Work is starting back up on the M6 in May. That means in a few years' time, the M6 will be reopened, or reopened, I should say. We hope, we think, maybe. Well, probably. But that's an opportunity. The state government imposed that huge development on us because they said it would return an opportunity to return local streets to our local community, which is why I've put a motion up later tonight that asks Bayside Council to advocate to traffic and find out, can we get Bay Street rezoned from a state road to a council road, which means we have more sovereignty over it. It means we have more control over it. So we can do more events, we can do partial pedestrianisation or full pedestrianisation. These are things that will be explored in the complete streets process, which has been separated out from the Bay Street Master Plan already at committee, because I was concerned, because I knew there would be backlash against the uplift component. So that's why I'm bringing this forward, that rather than pushing for the huge uplift that the feasibility study and the traffic study was foreshadowing, that we just focus on what's achievable, what's bringing us together as a council.
Further discussion, councillors? All right. Councillor Morrissey.
Just confirm, we do have the second foreshadowed motion though as well, so we're dealing with the first one.
Yeah, they're dealt with.
Is that right, Councillor
Yeah.
Barley? The second one's today. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is the second foreshadowed motion is just to defer the original motion
For a workshop.
for a workshop.
For a workshop, so everyone understands everything everybody was saying all that time.
Well, I'd support having a workshop rather than abandoning this altogether. So, any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Naji.
Look, Mr Mayor, has been on council since 2004. And again, if I say something that's not right, I'm sure the GM will pull me into line and say, no, that's wrong information and I'm misleading the chamber. It's always been that we even formed a committee, the Broad and Sands Working Committee. Put that aside. I don't think it exists anymore. But anyway, it's always been the case where the consultants would come in on behalf of the council, go and do their homework and come back and tell us that we believe this should be this high, the FSR, and whatever. Then it comes to council and we decide. But this time around with the original motion, we sort of flipped. We're doing the master plan first, then we're going to go to the community or for us to make a decision. I think, I strongly, if we're genuine about Broad and Sands, and I'm so, I got to commend Councillor Poulos for listening to the community and her ward, and maybe every other councillor should take a leaf out of Councillor Curry and Councillor Morrissey, a leaf of their book, because they listen. They listen to their ward residents and they go and implement whatever in the best interest of the community. And I strongly believe in this one, Mr Mayor. Bryden, I visit Bryden. It's my leisure time in Bryden. I don't live in Bryden. I'm not a ward councillor in Bryden, but it means a lot to me. So I think the best way to move forward, get a consultant. Once again, and hopefully that's the last time, come back and advise council on the best way, then implement it into the Bryden master plan. Finally, about the Rockdale master plan, we're all going on. Let's not kid ourselves. Now, I don't want to be political here. The state government, the Labor government, sorry, I'm not being political, but they said no overdevelopment, but then they means government, and that's politics anyway. They upzoned everything. They upzoned everything around the station. So if you look at Caringbah, if you look at Miranda, if you look at Cronulla, if you look at Chatswood, if you look at Lidcombe and Auburn, there's 25 stories and 30 stories high. And don't kid ourselves, this is going to happen around Rockdale, whether we like it or not. Okay, whether we like it or not. So, Mr Mayor, I hope to God we'll have better planning, and for the sake of the residents, let's do a consultation, get the consultants in, to give us the advice, then go back for the master plan, and community consultation is a must. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Any further discussion? Councillor Barlow.
Just briefly, I understand not having a master plan, the foreshadowed motion, but I really feel that I think everyone's now totally confused. I was when I saw that report, and I thought, gee, this is a little bit over the top. So, and we have, the journey has been since 2018. It's been a very long journey, and we have a lot of, and I think when this came up, we said, look at what we've already done to save yourself money. You know, you've got the processes there, you've got reports, and I feel that's why I was supporting that. The foreshadow one was that we at least have a briefing so we know exactly what we have looked at before, because what we got the other day was a shock to everybody. It was a shock to me. I mean, I didn't see, who wants to see 10 stories through everything? Then you'll have 2 little tiny streets that's our heritage conservation area, because you won't be able to touch them. But why would they on a 270 square metre, I think they're 300 square metre, why do they want a 10-storey building next to them? I mean, I have all 2-storey buildings behind me, and I sort of have no private backyard now, but anyway, because I'm on the downhill. So I'm just hoping that maybe we can put that in the foreshadowed, Councillor Douglas and Brenhoff, that we have a briefing of what we've gone through in the last, 2018. So there's a lot of work, there's been a lot of work done already, and I feel that should be looked at first.
So,
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to support Councillor Barlow's motion as the seconder.
Thank you.
Councillor Barlow, can I just, through the chair, ask if you were suggesting that within the foreshadowed motion that I put up...
Councillor Barlow has moved her own foreshadowed motion to defer it to a workshop.
To put, if Councillor Douglas and Brenhoff want to put that into their motion, it's just that I feel there's so much that we've done since 2018.
Well, I think we can't both not proceed with a master plan and defer it for further consideration.
Well, I mean, what I'm hearing from Councillor Barlow is that she wants to not proceed with the master plan, but to have a briefing session for councillors to explain the history of what's been done so far as a reset. Is that what I'm hearing, Councillor Barlow?
I'm surprised what we've done.
Yeah, I'm happy to support that.
Councillor Bezic, do you have a foreshadowed motion that the matter be deferred for a workshop?
Yes.
Yeah. So we currently have Councillor Douglas's foreshadowed motion, but then I think we still have a motion to that Councillor Barlow is no longer supporting, but that Councillor Bezic and seconded Councillor Morrissey to defer consideration of the master plan for a workshop. Councillor Brederhoft.
Sorry, I have a very short history on council, but in my memory, we had a briefing about what has happened in Brighton and Bay Street. General Manager, do you recall, or am I dreaming?
General Manager.
Through the chair, someone's there. Through the chair, I think what we have heard and established tonight is there is a very long and complex background. Yes, it was touched on briefly when the latest piece of economic feasibility work was presented to councillors at committee. But I think what I'm hearing tonight is there is some desire to really unpack 8 years' worth of work that has been periodically done, and so that it will reset and create a new base on which you can go forward and make further decisions. But we're happy to bring back that detailed chronology, detailed work that was done prior to this economic feasibility piece.
Thank you, General Manager.
Could I ask a question, please, Chair?
Councillor Douglas.
So considering that we've already got the complete streets process proceeding, that doesn't hang on this briefing, does it? Through the General Manager to the Chair.
I would think it best that we organise reasonably quickly the briefing as the first step. They do intersect. So the work that was done previously around height and density and where that should go what would be the ideal locations for public domain improvements, the Boulevard car park. All of that is included in the work that we've done previously. So I think it will speak to the Complete Streets project as well. And I think it would be better if we started with one exhaustive briefing and then council can then spin off to and do the other things that you have resolved to do.
Further discussion, councillors? Councillor Morrissey?
Yeah, so that would mean, Councillor Douglas, to have the briefing, you'd have to withdraw that so we get to the next one. Unless you put that and we'll put it to vote. Do you know what I mean? Is that correct? Because if we get, this doesn't mention anything about a briefing, yet the general
Well, I think we've
manager's-
got one foreshadowed motion to consider and then it will be followed by considering the motion to defer the master plan.
So I'm confused. I think Councillor Barlow was happy to put the briefing as part of this.
Well, so, but separately there's a motion from Councillor Bezic and Morrissey to continue having a briefing as a separate action to this.
I understand that, but Councillor Barlow did suggest we put it as a secondary point, that we proceed with the Complete Streets. Meanwhile, we also have a briefing on what has been done so far.
Personally, I think totally confusing. I feel, yes, that could be second part, but I feel that I think everyone in this chamber must really understand what has gone through, well, at least 10 years that I've been here, before we go into the Complete Streets, because that's a new part of what we've had. And once it all gets together, you'll have all the information and be able to sort it out that way. It's better than what got thrown at us and it shocked everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Morrissey?
to remove, it might, just to try and put it in simple terms with the difference between the two foreshadowed. The first foreshadowed motion before us effectively stops the master plan altogether. That's the fundamental, and it proceeds with the streets.
Complete Streets.
Oh, I can't say Complete Streets. Sorry, and where the second one. So, if this foreshadowed motion is won, then there's no master plan. It's all gone. There's no briefing. It's
correct.
Okay. So if we vote for this, there's no master plan. The one with Councillor Bezic that I've seconded means that everything has a stay of execution, so to speak, and we have a briefing on the whole lot, and then we come back.
I don't think that's correct. I think the first foreshadowed motion says we continue with the Complete Streets. Meanwhile, we also have a briefing on what's happened so far with the bigger master plan.
It says not proceed with a master plan.
Well, we can amend it. So it could say that council proceed with the public domain Complete Streets project focused on Bay Street and the immediate town centre. And meanwhile, thank you, and meanwhile has a councillor workshop, full briefing. That meanwhile a full briefing is provided to councillors. Is provided to councillors to explain the history of the Brighton master plans. Master plan. Of what has occurred so far.
Can I just make a comment on this perhaps, that I think the real challenge with telling people that we can proceed with public domain improvements without facilitating the redevelopment of the street, I think really doesn't offer anything. We can't force streets to widen unless, the mechanism by which council does that is when properties are being redeveloped, we can increase setbacks, create further public domain. And you sort of see that on the few properties on Bay Street that have been redeveloped, that the footpaths are set significantly further back so that you can create that livable public domain. So we can proceed with the planning around this, but the major problem, as has been identified very eloquently by Councillor Nagy, is that nothing's happened on Bay Street for the last 20 years. So they're proceeding with work that has nothing sitting behind it, and we know, from the advice we receive and from the lived experience over the last 20 years is unviable. I really, as the General Manager commented, these things really do run together as a matter of fact. We can have all the good wishes in the world about redeveloping the public domain, but we have no mechanism to achieve it unless we're facilitating urban renewal.
I just want to argue against that actually, because I was down in Sunshine in Melbourne and there's a fantastic Complete Streets revisioning of that area with a library. They've made a parklet with playground equipment. They've made bike tracks. They still have traffic going through there. They've made extended sidewalks for people to eat. It's such an amazing dynamic town centre, and there's been no high rise or uplift around it. What the council has done is made a commitment to make a town centre, and the council has pursued that. It didn't require uplift.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. As right of reply, all those in favour to Councillor Douglas's foreshadowed motion? Aye. All those against? No. Division has been called. Councillor Curry? No. Councillor Morrissey? Councillor Bezic? Councillor Boudelet? Councillor Strong? Councillor Brederhoft? Councillor Saravinovsky? Councillor Naji?
Against.
Councillor Duska's out of the room. Councillor Barlow? Councillor Poulos? Councillor Kassim? Oh, sorry, Councillor Douglas. Yeah. So Councillor Douglas was for, Councillor Kassim was against. I'm against. Declare the motion lost. Move to Councillor Morrissey and Councillor Bezic's foreshadowed motion. We have a request to put the motion. No further discussion. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Division. Councillor Curry.
Hang on.
This is the foreshadowed motion from Councillors Bezic and Morrissey. That the item be deferred for a workshop to run through some of the previous planning work done. Councillor Curry was for. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezic. Councillor Boudelet. Councillor Strong. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Saravinovsky.
Can I see the bottom line is?
Councillor Naji. Councillor Discu. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Kassim.
In favour.
Myself in favour. No motion was passed. Thank you, councillors. Moving on. Draft Bayside Local Infrastructure Contract. Can we invite Councillor White back in, please? What, sorry? Sarai voted for. All right, thank you, councillors. Item CP 26.011, Draft Bayside Local Infrastructure Contributions Plan 2026. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Discu, seconded. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Discu.
Hi, just a quick question. So there is a significant pool of accumulated contributions that Bayside Council is holding. I just wanted to understand if there is a intended plan for spending this significant amount of money, or is it just going to be sitting there?
Through the General Manager. I think that's the purpose of this report.
And also through the Chair, we'll shortly be bringing you the long-term financial plan. That's a 10-year plan, which includes expenditure of those infrastructure funds that you're speaking about. So this is a key plank in being able to unlock those funds and use them for community benefit. And you'll see how that will be spent over a 10-year period when we bring you the long-term financial plan next month, I think, to the council meeting next month.
Councillor
Just
Disco.
a very quick supplementary question to that. Thank you, General Manager. Is there an expiration date as to when we need to have these funds utilised before, say, the state government lays claim on them?
Hope not.
At this point, there is no it doesn't expire, but obviously we are also aware that they've been collected and that they need to be planned and spent.
Further discussion, councillors. Councillor Poulos.
I note that the proposed policy has been developed to provide assurances that funds collected to date or to be collected in the east and west precincts are spent within those areas. I'm repealing the Ramsgate Commercial Centre Development Contribution Plan of 2006. What assurance can local community have that the $2.3 million raised to support upgrades and works to the Ramsgate Town Centre will be used for those purposes, especially after last month's resolution to upgrade the Ramsgate Town Centre?
Mr Barber.
Through you, Mr Mayor, as Councillor Poulos said, there was a motion from the last council meeting that those funds be preserved and spent in that area. So that will be incorporated into the contributions plan as a way to action that resolution.
So that will be added to the plan as it is at the moment?
It's accounted for separately.
Okay, thank you.
And to Councillor Disco's question, I mean, Bayside Council has collected the better part of $500 million in Section 711 contributions that we, are currently not able to spend. This is unlocking a significant infrastructure legacy to the community, and I think it's very important we go ahead with it.
Well, I'm just bringing it up.
No,
Thank you, Mr
absolutely.
Mayor. Just bringing it up because Ramsgate Town Centre wasn't included in the attached work schedules, only a small portion of it, and it was planned for. So I just wanted an aspirational statement. It looks to me, like I said, it just needs to be amended and noted because there's only some stormwater works that have been added in there in Dillon and Campbell Street. And that was an expenditure of only $150,000. It's a long way from the $2.3 million that has actually been put aside.
I totally agree with you, Councillor Poulos.
Thank you, because you did, Mr Mayor, you were supportive of the town centre revitalisation, so I just wanted to have those funds quarantined.
Have the
Thank you.
reassurance from the Director.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour? All those against? It's a division as it's a planning matter. Councillor Curry, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Bezic, Councillor Bidelay, Councillor Strong, Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Saranovsky, Councillor Naji, Councillor Discu, Councillor Awada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Poulos, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Kassim, and myself for declare it carried unanimously. Item CPE 26.012, request to prepare a planning proposal to amend the Bayside Local Environment Plan 2021 to include Cooks Cove residual land. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Barlow, seconded Councillor Morrissey. Any discussion, councillors? This is just pulled out as a planning matter. No discussion. All those in favour? Councillor Curry, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Bezic, Councillor Boudelay, unanimous. Councillor Strong, Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Saranovsky, Councillor Naji, Councillor Discu, Councillor Awada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Poulos, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Kassim.
Yes.
And myself for declare it carried. Item CS 26.022, Ron Rathbone Local History Prize. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Barlow, seconded Councillor Bezic.
I just wanted to make the comment that this is really impressed with the report, and I'm so glad that they've now got the Peter Olovich Young Historian Award. He was there right from the beginning with Ron, one of the judges, and the year he retired, one of his students won one of the prizes, and I think it made his day because I think he passed away about 3 months after that. So it's very impressive, but we have to advertise it. So now it's been approved, can we start advertising it? And it's very good. And it was the 20th anniversary of the Ron Rathbone Award this year. And now we've got Peter Olovich as well. And Ron, he would be very pleased that Peter's name's attached to something as well.
Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item CS 26.023, response to notice motion litter signs at Depina Reserve. Moved Councillor Nagy, seconded Councillor Morrissey.
Okay, Mr Mayor, I just want to move the original recommendation from the officers. And I'll speak to it. Mr Mayor, while I appreciate that this matter is before Council following the original motion I moved last year, I am frankly baffled by what it has morphed into. Let me remind the Chamber what my original motion actually stated. First, that Council installed several no litter signs across the Depina Reserve. Second, that Council ensures the signs state clearly no littering and fines apply in bold, large lettering, along with a warning, and please dispose of your rubbish in the bins provided. The intent was incredibly simple: to actively discourage people from littering at the Depina Reserve. Excuse me, my voice tonight, Mr Mayor. It was a direct, on-the-ground action to address the visible problem. So my question to the Council is this: why has my original straightforward motion to deter littering turned into a comparison report? We don't need another report, and we don't need the staff to do another report. Directing staff to compile 6 and 12 months baseline litter data from Georges River Council to compare against Bayside Council completely misses the point. Yes, Georges River is a neighbouring council with similar geography and foreshore areas, but knowing whether they have 10% more or 20% less litter than us does not pick up a single piece of rubbish at the Depina Reserve. It doesn't stop people from dropping their waste on the ground. I did not want a practical request for signage morphed into a bureaucratic benchmarking exercise. We are asking our council officers to cross-reference data when what our community actually needs are actionable solutions. We do not need a report to confirm there is a litter problem. Our residents and park goers see it every single day. Every hour spent tracking down and analysing another council baseline data is an hour that should have been spent on tangible improvements. Let's not get bogged down in cross-council data comparison that offer no practical value to our ratepayers. I urge Council to scrap this pointless reporting exercise, honour the original intent of deterring litter, and focus our time and budget entirely on actually keeping the Depina Reserve clean. Thank you.
So I think the motion becomes that the original officer recommendation that went to the committee is adopted. Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. There we go. Item CS 26.024, response to notice motion on-street personal electric vehicle charging solution trial investigation. Mover into seconder. Probably a good idea. We're caught up. Do I have a mover into seconder? Move Councillor Brethoff, seconded Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. I just want to move to amend to delete point 1, because actually point 1 and point 3 are contradictory as they stand now. And that is also because since this item was first drafted, I've had further information from the Inner West Council, and some of the information that is in the report doesn't seem to be up to date with what the council is doing. They're still actively trialling the program. They're still working on it. There's a policy coming out. So the evidence that was provided was not fully, wholesome, holistic, and there will be more evidence to become. Also, there is genuine community interest in this program. I've had community members calling me up and sending me support for this. So while the electric vehicle ownership is growing, people need to be able to charge their cars at home if they need to. And this is a really good way to just have the suite of charging options available. So, yeah, that's my amendment I'm going to move.
Any further discussion,
I'll
councillors?
just move a foreshadowed motion that it's just the council part one, which was the first part, which was the original motion. It was a very, very detailed report. I commend the staff for the amount of, and if anyone read it fully, it was amazing that even Inner West was not trialling it across the footpaths. And I feel that I know they've moved that it can go to your say, but that is a cost to the council, time for the staff. They have put so much into that report, and if you can't accept that, they're really not going to have it that way. I mean, I just believe that, okay, you're going to do it across footpaths. Now, what size footpaths? Are you going to give a limit to the size? Like Queen Victoria Street, Herbert Street, they've got the widest footpaths I've ever seen. You're allowed to park on the curb, on the driveway if you're down at the bottom of the curb. So I feel that there's been enough looked at this, and if Port Phillip Bay was the example we used, they are not doing it. They have abandoned the trial. There's another council in Victoria, they have abandoned the trial, and according to the report we have, they have abandoned the trial. So maybe we should be listening. I had friends that lived in Enmore in 12 Charles Street, so they have a footpath this wide, and maybe they could do something. But I feel that the report that was put to council, it was the fact that we do not proceed with it, and I feel that's the only way that should be done, because otherwise we've got the staff have done such a lot of work. If you want it to go to your say, I believe that's a cost. It's a cost and it's a time factor. They've got to write the report to say this is what it'll do. It could cost you $4,000 or $5,000 to do the connection. So I still have the personal belief that you've got an EV car, you've got to try and figure out where you're going to turn. And now we've got fast chargers coming to all of our city in grant funding. This is going to help a lot of people out. With that, we've got our slow chargers. We've got another report with more coming up. So I believe it's just not proceed.
I'm happy to second that.
Oh.
Second, Councillor Wada. Further discussion?
I have
Councillor
been
Douglas.
contacted by 2 residents this week asking for this to proceed to public consultation. And I'll read out a short statement from a very long letter. This is from Alice Brennan, who writes, as a resident of Arncliffe, to express interest in the possibility of curbside EV charging solutions, including gully charging, approved cable covers and other forms of safe street access charging infrastructure for residents with off-street parking. Like many households in this part of Bayside, we live in medium density area with on-street parking only and no access to a garage or driveway charger. This effectively excludes residents like us from making the transition to electric vehicles despite strong interest in the broader environmental and economic benefits EV ownership can provide. This issue is becoming more significant for older suburbs such as Arncliffe, where housing stock and street layouts were not designed with private charging access in mind, like the Inner West. Without practical solutions for terrace homes, semis, apartments and houses without carports, EV ownership risks becoming limited to households with private driveways, which creates an inequitable barrier to cleaner transport. Alice, in Alice's voice, I would encourage Bayside Council to consider pilot programs for gully charging or recessed cable channels across footpaths, permit systems for approved and safe temporary charging access, designated curbside EV charging infrastructure in residential streets, collaboration with energy providers or state government grant programs, and clear policy guidelines for residents seeking compliant charging solutions. And she goes on. So I do think this is important to go to public consultation because there are so many people in our community who do not have access to off-street parking, and they're already concerned about this issue.
You, Councillor Douglas. Any further discussion? Councillor, you've already spoken. Councillor Brederhoff. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'll be as brief as possible. Councillor Morrissey would hate me to go on, and I agree with him. I don't want to. But just the facts again, Mr Mayor. We had a notice of motion asking for a report to be presented to council on the basis to install the curbside EV chargers. And they named Port Phillip and Mary Beck that they're already doing it. We've had, under Deborah Dawson with Mr Hong and his team, written a great report. They spent a lot of time, Mr Mayor, did their research, did their report, then they found out that Port Phillip abandoned the project, Mary Beck abandoned the project, and Mr Hong cited that there could be a public insurance problem. Public insurance liability. Public liability insurance, whatever. Okay, maybe the other way around. But, Mr Mayor, fair dinkum, we get a good report, then we're asking the council, hold on, don't worry about your report, let's go back and do another report and bring it back to council or community consultation, so on. If we get a great report to tell us, hey, it's not good to do it, there is a liability there, other councils, two in Victoria, has abandoned that, why should we keep going and keep wasting council staff time, which is essential? Look, no council staff have ever expressed their opinion, but I can tell you, I think they are overwhelmed with report after report after report after report. They're not even doing their own work, Mr Mayor. So this needs to stop, and that's why I'll be voting against the motion and I'll be supporting the foreshadowed motion. Thank you.
Councillor Naji. Further discussion? Right of reply.
Thank you. Well, you know, some councillors push back on every progressive things that can happen to this council. Meredith, the General Manager, sorry, can I please get an explanation for you whether the Inner West Council, what the Inner West Council is currently doing in order to, because there's you know, explanations here about how great the report was, but I think there's some additional information that you could provide, please.
Through the chair, and yes, of course, it was a very fulsome report, and it was the director and manager's most contemporary information that they could find when they wrote the report. Subsequently, what we have determined is that the Inner West is going to extend their trial. They aren't able at this point to definitively describe and work out how they're going to deal with things like the insurance matters. So they have decided to have a consultant come in and assist them, and they will be extending their trial by 12 months.
Are you finished, Councillor Brederhoff?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favour? All those against? And declare the motion lost. Division's being called. Councillor Curry.
Against.
Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezic. Councillor Boudeleau. Councillor Strong. Councillor Brederhoff. Councillor Savranovsky. Councillor Naji. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. Councillor Kassim.
In favour.
And myself against. Declare the motion lost. Item CS 26.025. Sorry, Councillor Barlow's foreshadowed motion. Is there any discussion, councillors? Put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Declare it carried. Item CS 26.025, electric vehicle curbside charging stations post-public exhibition report. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Barlow. Do I have a seconder?
With a change.
Councillor Strong, maybe-ish.
Now,
Why don't you describe your change?
Yeah, the change is that there was a charging station in Pitt Street at Rockdale, which is a one-way street with 7 houses that you can't get into. You've got to go round and round the block. It took me a while to figure out how to get in there. And it's a cul-de-sac. And there was one that was already supported by 89%, which was 2 Baxter Street, which is still in Ward 3, and it's actually in a better, more suitable place because it's all 3-storey walk-ups. So it's just the change was to delete it from Pitt Street and replace it back into Baxter Street, which is in the report. And I've already spoken to the director about it.
With that change, any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Item BLTF 26.034, designated e-mobility parking bays, Wallow Creek and Mascot. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Barlow, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor
Just
Barlow.
to point out that no one possibly doesn't read all the traffic reports, and it's just that there's going to be a shared device to park your e-bikes or the shared bikes in 2 sections. It's in the report and it's being funded by, I think, Transport New South Wales are helping. So that's one in Wallow Creek and one in Mascot. I just wanted to point it out so that people could go back and look at it and say, so we have got that being proceeded. And I think it's the state, Transport New South Wales that are funding it for us.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
I just wanted to pass on the point, some information from a resident, Alan Nicholas, who I met at the Mascot opening of the Women in War exhibition. And Alan is 75 years old and has mobility issues. He can't walk more than 300 metres, so he is reliant on an e-bike and an e-scooter. And he's a massive e-bike enthusiast. He sort of counters all of the misinformation that we hear about e-bikes. And he wanted me to raise these suggestions. He said council should support management of e-bike services and would like to work with Lime Bikes, he would like council to work with Lime Bikes, including parking compliance, which is what is happening today. So I think that's a really positive step forward for council. He would like council to promote safe riding and improve signs to promote the rules of shared paths, like keep left and 15-kilometre speed limits. Work with Lime Bikes on how to report the removal of e-bikes left at inappropriate sites, and to work with Lime to protect their expensive assets like more bike racks, and maybe suggest co-fund more bike racks. He pointed out down at Ramsgate Surf Life Saving Club, he showed me a picture. Yeah, he is suggesting co-funding. He is suggesting co-funding. He showed me a photo down at Ramsgate Life Saving Club where everybody had stacked up their bikes neatly, their Lime Bikes, in the bike parking area, but therefore you don't have any bike parking area left. So we need more. We need more of that. And he also asked if Lime could please place large stickers on the side of the bikes with a phone number for direct contact for reporting bikes needing removal. So he had some great ideas. I'll forward these through to council, but I think it shows that there is support for Lime Bikes from different generations. We just need to get that management right, which this report, this item on the traffic committee is a good step forward.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Any further discussion? Councillor Kassim, I think we're getting some background noise from you.
Sorry.
All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. You might need to mute yourself, Councillor Kassim. Item 13.1, rescission motion, Dolls Point Wharf update. I'll move into seconder. Move Councillor Poulos, second Councillor Strong. Councillor Poulos.
I'm happy to speak to this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I must admit, when it first came before me, I leaned towards demolition because the picture painted at the committee meeting was it was surrounded by sand. But as we know, the bay is dynamic. It has shifting sands, and historical photos show that the sand conditions are not fixed. Around 2012 to 2018, I'm referring to the photos that Councillor Douglas put up, it was fairly sandlocked. But since then, for recent years, it reaches accessible water at many tides, is actively used for fishing and viewing. So after the committee discussion, I went down to the wharf myself. I spoke to local fishers and residents, people who use that every week. They told me they love the wharf. Even near low tide, it extends over the water and serves a purpose. Standing there looking across the bay, I realised this is more than just an ageing structure issue. It's about imagination, possibility, and whether we see public infrastructure as disposable or something worth renewing. So Councillor Poulos was good to put the brakes on the demolition, and I'd like to acknowledge Peaceful Bayside's community discussion on site. That was a great move just to gauge community, what they feel about it. So yes, so for a modest difference, you know, we could either raise a community asset or bring it back for life for another generation. And what struck me most is the community clearly sees value in the future. I made a simple explainer video down there, and it's got almost 14k views and more on TikTok. So this community issue resonates far beyond a handful of people at meetings. Residents really do care about this place. They're engaging with it emotionally, historically and socially. And perhaps it's because people instinctively understand something important, that once the wharf is gone, any opportunity is gone with it. So because the structure was never just a fishing platform, historically the Dolls Point Wharf was envisaged as a part of a broader Botany Bay ferry connection linking Brighton Le Sands Canal and La Perouse. That's a part of the documented history of the site. But you know, maybe that might never happen, but you know, things could evolve differently. But the point is, retaining the wharf keeps these possibilities alive. Could be, you know, become a platform for recreation, destination fishing, sightseeing location for summer concerts, open air community cinema, and in the cooler months, and a place just for the public to gather. So around the world, cities spend millions trying to create activated waterfront public spaces with character identity. We already have one right there. So what we decide tonight is whether we nurture it or remove it. We often speak in this chamber about activation, tourism, community well-being, and creating vibrant public spaces. So the wharf can contribute to all these things. So I'm proud to support the retaining and renewing of Dolls Point Wharf, because council should not just manage decline, we should encourage to invest in possibilities. And I'd like to thank Ms Michelle Sparks for her talk in the public forum earlier. Thanks.
Councillors, further discussion? Councillor Morrissey.
Just a question for the General Manager as to why there's no sand there.
Through the chair, as the photos that you've all seen indicate, it's a very dynamic environment, marine environment. The main reason that the research shows and the analysis indicates is because of the port dredging. So most of that is the change to the wave movement caused by the port dredging. The sand is gradually moving south. It hits the point and it tends to accumulate there. There is a massive hole just south of that area in the bay, and the sand is travelling towards that hole.
And
Councillor Morrissey.
do we move that sand?
Oh.
And how much does that cost, if we do move it, how much does it cost council each time we have to move it?
So the last time we moved the sand, we were provided with a grant from the state government, and I think we spent in the order of 1.6 to 1.8 million doing that. It was known that it was a reasonably temporary solution, and it was done to protect the most vulnerable parts of the bay. So it wasn't about creating more water down at Dolls Point. It was actually about protecting heavily eroded parts, particularly at the end of President Avenue, where there was a real possibility of some collapse occurring. So it was to shore up rather than to create the amenity that is a byproduct of it.
Thank you. So we moved the sand from that location north at a cost of about 1.6 million, maybe more. We're not. So, and the sand is coming back because the tidal movements and currents in Botany Bay means the sand will come back. So there's no guarantee that if the sand, if what I'm hearing is correct, because that was funded through grants. If the sand comes, if we keep this here, one of the risks is that the sand comes back. It's going to come back. We're almost certain of that, and we would have to find more than $1.6 million to move the sand away again, which may or may not be available through grant funding. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. So, yeah, I'm supportive of the original motion, which is to demolish. I think there's also the consideration, not only with sand alone, but this is a very volatile, corrosive environment where while the initial cost between demolition and keeping is somewhat negligible, there's an ongoing depreciation and there's an ongoing maintenance cost to maintain this asset in a very, very, it's a hostile environmental location with the seawater and the sand and the wind and what it's... So this is going to cost council a lot of money over time to move sand and maintain. In addition to that, there was really healthy discussion at the committee about reusing some elements from that, and I remain supportive of that option. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Councillor
So
Poulos.
moving the elements, as you've just mentioned, Councillor Morrissey, will also cost money as well. So that's not actually being counted into the initial discussions. Obviously, we're sitting here, we're discussing the rescission motion. So should this go forward, then we will be deciding whether we move forward with saving a structure that will be there for 40 to 50 years, long after we've all gone elsewhere, wherever we go. To me, there's been an overwhelming response from the local community in support of saving this wharf. It's really interesting that someone who actually doesn't reside in the ward actually is really passionate about it. I actually commend your, enthusiasm and going to the efforts that you've been to actually do the research on what's actually happening. Obviously, sand comes and goes. We all know that. I'm not disputing that, but it's very apparent that the wharf is both in its previous timber phase and subsequently as a concrete structure has provided over many years immense enjoyment, value for visitors and residents alike. By renewing the wharf and addressing the previous maintenance backlog of work, we can once again rekindle all the activities associated with this wharf once again. Some safety concerns have previously raised, and I do acknowledge those. These can be managed in line with meeting with the requirements of Transport for New South Wales. There are similar wharves along the coastline that face same issues. We're not unique. We're not the only council that has, a wharf that has issues of dilapidation and sand logging or sand banking. We have an opportunity to restore a very popular focal point along our foreshore. For the next 50 years, visitors and families once again can enjoy the benefits of the wharf and the passive recreational activities it encourages. I commend the motion and ask that you all support it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Douglas.
So I've been really divided about this one, partly because I really care about safety and also because I care about Council's fiscal responsibility to our community. And there was an incident in Coffs Harbour where a young child fell off a wharf and had permanent disability. So I was really concerned about Council creating an asset that wasn't safe. However, I have gone and listened to the community. Councillor Bredoff and I went and did community pop-up stall down at the wharf, and I've had lots of conversations with different members of the community. And what's become clear to me is this is a valued asset, not necessarily as a wharf. It's probably misnamed now. It's probably a pier. There's a difference between a wharf and a pier. A wharf boats turn up to and tie up to. A pier is a public access point that goes across the water. So people like to sit by the water. They like to do yoga by the water. They like to fish by the water. They like to be able to get that sense of elevation, to go and have somewhere that they can sit as a space that's safe, that's part of their community. And there isn't a lot of spaces like that along the waterfront. There are the groins, as they're terribly called, which are the rocky piers that the previous state government or Commonwealth put out there to try and prevent the sand moving. But there's not a lot of fishing spots that are well looked after and well maintained. I did say to people down at Dolls Point, look, you've got Vanstone baths going ahead, you've got the renewal of the cafe at Peter Depina Park, the renewal of the car park there. There are lots of things councillors doing down here, but they really did feel like this was something that they wanted council to hold on to. So I had lots of conversations, and I would say 75% of people were in favour of keeping the wharf. And whilst they then, some of them, might change their mind if you think about, well, would we be better off to put that money down towards a new bath precinct at Brighton, where we rebuild the glory of the old days where we had the walking pier around the baths at Brighton. People were like, yeah, maybe we should do that instead of this. But then there were other people who were like, no, but we don't identify it as being part of Brighton. We live here. This is our local park. This is where I get up and do yoga in the morning. This is where I want to sit with my friends. So I think we do owe it to listen to our community, and that's why I will be supporting this rescission motion tonight.
You councillors, further discussion?
Just to write a reply to what Councillor...
Councillor Naji's been waiting to speak.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And I'm sure no one is suffering from selective amnesia. Just through you, Mr Mayor, to the GM, when we're talking about the sand shifting and the dredging, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the major cause of it was the runway of the airport and the port botany, also the desalination plant that was built, and that caused a lot of shifting in the sands and dredging that we had to fork out 1.6. But I'm not sure if we did get any funding from state or federal thing. Can you guide me on that, please?
Yes. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, yes, all of those things are important. The primary reason for the sand moving was the dredging, extensive dredging for the port, to allow vessels to come and go to the port. And yes, council did receive grant funding to move the sand. It was fully funded by a grant at that time.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify for the benefit of my colleagues. So I just got 3 points. First point is the residents in that ward, and I'm glad Councillor Douglas talked to the residents. I'm sure Councillor Poulos, and I'm sure Councillor McDougall listens to his ward residents. The residents want it, Mr Mayor. Number 2, it's about history. It's been there since 1988. Okay, so there's a lot of memories for the elderly over there, and there's certainly some memories for me when I was 20, 25, what I used to get up to, nothing bad anyway. So, in 1998, so should I move a notice of motion for an IHO? It's history, it's heritage. People want it. I'm trying to be humorous, trying to think. So, look, I think restoring it, it said that it's 650, and I'm sure the safety aspect would be calculated into that. If we had to take it away, leave some peas over there, or use the wooden somewhere else for an art, which is another good cause, but it's going to cost us. We've never been told it could be 100, 200, 300, so it's the same amount of money. So the decision tonight would be, are we going to listen to the majority? Of course, some of them might object or don't want it there, but the majority, Mr Mayor, I see it on social media. When I go to Brighton, I talk to people. I'm a sticky big, I like talking to people. So the majority wants it, Mr Mayor, and that's why I'm going to support this rescission motion, and I hope my colleagues do too. Thank you.
I'll just be quick. With the shifting sands, like it was about 7-8 years ago that it was sandlocked. Ever since then, it's reached the water. So that could be the current trend. It's going to reach the water. And with the historical aspect, before it was concrete in 98, it was a wooden wharf going right back. There's photos that have come to me from the 1930s of a wooden wharf that went out there in a big swimming enclosure. So a lot of people remember that old, and that's all documented history. So it's like it's social heritage right there about people's interaction with the bay. And I don't believe it's going to be sandlocked like it was again.
That's a strong assumption. I mean, I don't think, look, I was going to speak before you, Councillor Strong, but I will just add a comment. I live in my ward. I talk to residents all the time. I don't think people have uniform views, but we do have a responsibility to provide safety to the public. I get that people are going to have different views about this. As Councillor Douglas mentioned, a little boy, a 5-year-old boy, fell off a similarly sandlocked jetty in Coffs Harbour. The council was found guilty of negligence. The child's permanently brain damaged. So, look, I think leaving assets like this is seriously dangerous. People do climb on them. They expect these sort of things to be safe. I think there's well wishes that, sand's going to stop the pattern that it's been following for the last, 50 years. Good luck. I think people express similar thoughts about climate change, that maybe it'll just stop. But we do know that the sand's moving in one direction. It moves down the bay. Council has commissioned many of its own studies showing that that's happening. It hasn't been like that for 7 years. I think the work was done around 2021, and the sand's been gradually moving back, and I'm sure in time it'll be sandlocked again. So I can't support the rescission motion. I think there's a lot of commentary that we're somehow going to restore this and return it to a working pier. And if we're going to do this, we should make sure it's actually a safe asset, not a stranded asset. And I don't think that's going to cost $650,000. And, consider that project on its merit. But I think what the office has said is that it'll cost $650,000 to make the current landlocked stranded asset safe, or safe-ish. You can't make something like this, safe to the extent that a kid could fall off it. So I think that needs to be considered on what would actually be the community expectation, which is a pier or a wharf running out into the water fully. So those are my thoughts, but I suspect the rescission motion will be supported. Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Sarabanovsky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
There has been a right of reply, but Councillor Sarabanovsky hasn't spoken tonight. So.
Well, I'll just briefly ask, just to your point. Question to the chair, through the chair to the GM. Have we ever had any previous incidences in relation to the wharf?
General Manager.
Through the chair, there was an incident of 2 men who drowned in that location. They were not strong swimmers. There are a lot of currents there as the river meets the bay. I believe that one got into trouble and the other one went in to save him, and both of them drowned. And there was a young boy, I think around about a 6 or 7 year old. Some of you were on council at that time. It was in that vicinity. He wasn't on the pier as the other gentleman had been. And in that case, it's misreading what looks like a very safe environment with still water. It actually falls away and you can have sandbank collapsing. So in that case, the little boy drowned because he got out of his depth very quickly.
So can I ask, through those unfortunate tragedies, we ended up closing it?
No, it's a separate issue, but related to the sand movement.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for clarifying.
Again, the clarification, Mr Mayor, and it's really sad, it's tragedy when a 6-year-old boy or 2 men, and I'm aware of the family of the 2 men, they weren't swimmers, they didn't know how to swim. But with the boy, wasn't it more towards much more the Pina Park? It was after Vanson Parade, like it wasn't near the...
So I don't think we need debate so much. I think Councillor Naji's correct.
That's it, thank you.
All right, councillors, all those in favour? All those against? No. Declare it carried. Call of division. Item 13.2, notice of motion, Doles Point Wharf update. Moved Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Strong. Any discussion, councillors?
Just make one comment.
Councillor Barlow.
Sorry about this. That I will only support it with, it won't be a wharf, it'll be like a pier. You can have fencing around. There's no fishing there because there's no water there, but it would be a great lookout, and you would have seen the dolphins in the bay out there. And that's basically, I would that's the only way I will support something that becomes a structure that isn't there for fishing, it's there for photography, it's there to just a viewing platform. So I believe then it's safe because you've got fencing around, you can't jump off it, and it becomes an issue of, it'd be great. And I know I think the dolphins were around that way today or yesterday.
Councillors, further discussion. Councillor Douglas.
I have 2 amendments to propose. Just in light of some of the discussions that have happened tonight, I was also pre-considering these and how to approach this. So I did send them through to governance. My suggestion is that any plans presented to council include the long-term costs associated with maintaining the asset, including any ongoing dredging required for the wharf to remain operational and accessible. And the last point, that council advocate to Mr Simon Kennedy, MP, member for Cook, regarding community concerns that sand movement around Dolls Point Wharf may be linked to Commonwealth-approved developments associated with Port Botany and Sydney Airport, and that the Commonwealth should investigate and address these impacts so that Bayside Council is not left financially responsible for remediation costs arising from those developments. I think this is an important point to raise, and it's a point that was very strongly raised with me by residents when we did this community consultation pop-up stall. Thank you, Marie, who came down to our stall and really stood with us for a good half an hour and explained the whole history of this site. This is actually a conversation about decades of poor planning and ignored environmental impacts that have reshaped our coastline and left communities to deal with the consequences. Ever since the construction of the 3rd runway and the expansion of Port Botany, the tidal prism of Botany Bay has fundamentally changed. Sand that once naturally replenished Lady Robinson's Beach is now being sucked into the mouth of the Georges River and deposited around Dolls Point and Towra. Long-term locals, sailors and volunteers for St George Sailing Club have watched it happen in real time. Residents like Brenda and Ross Bull pointed out these sandbanks shifted in the late 1960s with the runway construction, and the problem accelerated with the container port expansion, further shoreline development. It's not a new issue, and it is a man-made issue. But once again, local government is left holding the bill. So we are now being asked to reconsider the long-term renewal and maintenance of the wharf at Dolls Point, where that sand has moved rapidly. Dredging has been done at a big expense, only for the sand to return again. So we do need to ask ourselves honestly about spending ratepayers' money on dredging a sustainable solution, or investing in understanding and addressing the root cause. So that's why I'm advocating today that we as a council advocate to the Commonwealth to address that root cause. We do have a member for Cook, Simon Kennedy. He could come down, he could meet with residents, he could hear about what the impact of the port and the airport has been, and he could help cough up the bill for making this asset sustainable.
I agree with that, but I think framing it as that ratepayers would have to pay might not be so accurate, because we can appeal for funding from a higher up. And I don't know whether the wharfs being there should be responsible for the dredging necessarily, but generally I support the amendments, but not.
Well, is it, do the mover and seconder want to incorporate it into the motion, or I've got a nod from Councillor Poulos and a sort of half shake from Councillor Strong. So.
But what I'd
Do we
said
perhaps
before,
want a different seconder who will support that? We can,
that I don't believe you should have
Councillor Douglas.
point 7 in there, because point 7, you're returning it back to what we don't want. You don't want a wharf that goes nowhere. You don't want a wharf that doesn't have water. So that's why I was suggesting a pier or a lookout, something that doesn't confuse people so that they don't tempt to jump off. While you've got nothing there and you don't have some sort of a lookout or something, it's unsafe. So I believe point 7 shouldn't be there in the wording that it's got, because otherwise you are creating what is already there, and it is a problem because when the water's out.
Can I just perhaps say that maybe point 3 should be read as meaning, unless there's disagreement from Councillor Poulos and Councillor Douglas, that point 3 should be read as meaning that that design options come back, because obviously there's more than one thing that you could do with this, and I don't think the intention is actually to just put a safety fence around it and hope for the best. I mean, it's not very accessible at the moment. It doesn't go out into the water. Presumably we'll come up with some ideas about how you might spend money on this for an effective community asset, or not, who knows. But you'd hope so. So I don't think there's anything incongruous with point 7 being included. All right. Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare it carried. Being 9 p.m, perhaps I'd have a motion for a 5-minute recess. Move Councillor Sarabanovsky, seconded Councillor Naji. Declare the council meeting adjourned until 9:05 p.m.
That needs a signature. Those books out. No, that's one of the books from the...
Maybe an ice bath.
What's that?
An ice bath. Bloody boring.
Yeah, Meredith's fine. This is the workplace discrimination.
Yeah, I think so. Wear singlets, face on singlets.
9:05, declare the meeting reopened. Councillors, staff, let's keep moving. Item 13.3, notice of motion, Kiama Boat Ramp Reserve. Do I have a mover and a seconder?
Hang on.
Move Councillor Poulos.
Directors.
Seconded Councillor Naji. Perhaps for uncontroversial motions, people can speak in reply. There we go. Any discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against? Declare that carried. There's still time to see the Blues lose. Item 13.4.
Is this the boat ramp?
Not good. Addition to street flag and banners program.
Hang on, did we just
Move Councillor Poulos. Do I have a seconded Councillor Discu. The street flags program.
20 to 6.
Councillor Poulos.
So moved.
Any discussion, councillors? Councillor Curry.
Yeah, I'm just.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Kassim, you
Councillor
go.
Sam, do you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. Look, what I was going to say is I certainly support what the intention behind what Councillor Poulos is having, which is essentially a recognition of the importance of all our various ethnic communities, and in this case, the huge Greek community which exists in our LGA, which is, as I think one of our speakers in the public gallery said earlier, made an enormous contribution and continues to make an enormous contribution in our LGA. I guess what I'm also interested in, though, is the information which the General Manager has presented to us, which is regarding what's already done. And I think that is interesting, and I think it is worth noting. I think we should actually include that in our motion, noting that. And secondly, I think we need to recognise that we do have a very diverse population, and it is also a dynamic population. So, we have several communities which are important now, and presumably they'll be different in the future because it is so dynamic. So what would be very interesting, I think, is to actually find out a little bit about what currently is happening in the in the LGA, not just for the Greek community, but for all the other ethnic communities which exist in our LGA, which are important for our LGA. I guess the third point is how else we can recognise our ethnic diversity, and cultural richness. I think the speaker in the public forum mentioned murals. As you would be aware, I have put up previous motion about murals, and in fact specifically mentioned cultural diversity as one of the things which would be recognised in those public murals, and that has been passed by council, to have murals in all our town centres. So that is certainly an opportunity to do that. I know that we also have public programs in things like libraries, which presumably also take special note of either national days or cultural and religious celebrations, and utilise those as a springboard for the work which happens there. So I guess what I'm saying is I think there is a lot of things which we are currently doing, and bearing in mind the discussions which we have had earlier in the evening on the nature of our finances and the huge call on our resources in general, that given the financial impact of changing things over, changing flags over, not knowing whether or not we might want to do these for other communities, that we actually, it's probably a timely prompt for us to actually get a little bit more information about this rather than jumping into doing something. So those are my views on this.
Thank you.
And for that reason, if I might say that I foreshadowed a motion which I've sent to governance earlier. Thank you.
Further discussion, councillors? Councillor Douglas.
I just want to mention the speaker spoke about Sierra, who spoke earlier tonight, spoke about murals, and I wanted to reiterate that. I actually tried to get this council to enact a perfect match mural program that they have in the NOS. I tried to do that last term of council and failed, unfortunately. But we are starting to pick up our game on murals. But there's a particular mural that really impacts me every time I see it, and it's the female figure associated with Estia, the goddess of family in ancient Greece, which is in the inner west. Beautiful mural, really great nod to the Greek community. It has freedom 1821 or death motto referencing the Greek War of Independence anniversary. I'd love to see things like this in our community. We've got lots of blank walls. We've got lots of blank overpasses. We've got blank water tanks. Like, we could do a lot with the paint and commissioning local artists. So I'd love to see this motion extend to a mural program to celebrate our cultural diversity. Yeah. So could we potentially have a point 7 then?
What's the
I think maybe we can see the foreshadow motion.
Oh, I didn't see the foreshadow motion.
Just noting that, sorry, can we scroll back to it, please? Retaining point 1, which is that council notes the success of our street flag and banner program. We keep moving back and forth. Can we please stop moving back and forth? The council notes the national flag of countries that have connection to Bayside are flown on their Independence Day in the Rockdale Town Hall forecourt. The council will be briefed on countries that are currently covered by this in the program costs. Further discussion, councillors?
Division.
That needs.
It needs a seconder.
Oh, sorry.
And this needs a seconder as well, the motion. Oh, I think so.
You've seconded the original motion, Councillor Disco.
I'll second the.
Councillor Curry seconded the foreshadowed motion. I think we're probably happy to add murals to that as well.
Absolutely. I'd be very happy to add the something along the lines that council report on how cultural diversity will be incorporated into the existing program agreed program for murals in town centres and any other opportunities within the LGA.
Can I just make a quick comment? I think I support the intent of Councillor Poulos' motion, but I do think that we should actually have a look at what our current flag program is as a whole.
We actually do.
Sorry, can I please finish, Councillor Poulos, and then you can have a right of reply. But I think we should consider this holistically, because I think a lot of ad hoc decisions have been made around flag raisings and street flags and all of that. Next year, Western Easter and Greek Independence Day fall within a couple of days of each other. I mean, are we putting up Easter flags or Greek Independence? What are we doing on Bay Street at that point in time? I think it should actually be reported back, within a month, so we can make a decision about what our flag program looks like. Rather than jumping, we should be able to consider those clashes as a whole. I mean, I know that this year there was a Liverpool Council, for example, had an issue around Easter and Eid overlapping. We should sort of be very clear and eyes wide open about what we're putting up and where to celebrate the fantastic cultural diversity in our community, which I think is one of the real strengths of Bayside. So that's why I would just generally suggest in good faith that maybe in terms of making a decision about what's being flown next year, that actually comes back so we all are on the same page and we're all agreed about what's going up, or at least have the chance to have that discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I agree that we should have a strategy, definitely, and some dates. But this year I didn't see Canterbury Bankstown have any issue with putting up a massive Happy Easter banner in one of their central areas, and also recognising Eid as well. So you can. My point is, we can do it simultaneously.
I'm sure we can do everything at once, but we should have a clear idea about what we're doing and how. Because I would say my personal observation is that we don't necessarily have the best track record about how we celebrate these sort of things. So we should be very clear about how we're doing it, and council should make an active decision around that.
So for the record, I need to change the dates I've referred to 2026, it should be 2027. I just want to bring to my council colleagues, we did receive this only recently. It is a comprehensive list of what flags go up and when they go up. I'm just wanting to bring this to the floor just to discuss, community feedback has highlighted the inconsistency, obviously, that has currently occurred with the application and the allocation of these street flags. As Councillor Dusku mentioned, Canterbury Bankstown showcases Easter banners across its LGA. Inner West showcases their Greek flags along the main street of Marrickville. They also have a little Greek precinct there as well. I don't intend to identify any other cultural event that is supported with flags currently in Bayside, as I am strongly advocating for social cohesion and harmony. So I'm not saying it's just one cultural group to be excluded. This should be obviously done in addition to lighting up the town hall or raising the flags at the town hall forecourt. More often than not, no one knows about it. Having said this, in the past, Emeritus Mayor Sarah Vanovsky, Emeritus Mayor Moslemain they created events that actually brought together the communities that we do have within our LGA. This is something that's actually somewhat fizzled off, and we don't actually have that. So this is the essence of my motion, was to bring that back. So we actually, and I'm not stopping any cultural group or any to sort of put forward their suggestions. Like I said, my motion is just pretty much for social cohesion and just incorporating a better program. I'm happy if you're wanting to defer it to actually come back to us, but like I said, there is a list, a very comprehensive list, and I thank City Life for putting it together, which actually outlines what the flags are and when they're actually going to be flown. So we've actually done quite a bit of work already. So the inclusion of Easter, which we all know, and obviously some other cultural events, I don't think that should be sidelined. Thank you.
No, I think in terms of what you just said, Councillor Poulos, and my comment, so perhaps in a month this would come back with suggestions about what should be included and when. Does that work? For 2027. So I think the motion can be updated to reflect that. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Nobody discussed the suggestion of sculptures. We can have a second statue of Spirit on Lewis. Could win again. Item 13.5, Angelo Onesti Aquatic Centre, additional car parking. Move Councillor Poulos.
So moved.
Seconder. Seconded Councillor Barlow, I think was first. Any discussion, councillors? No. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.6, Summer Foreshore Program. Move Councillor Poulos. Seconded Councillor Naji.
So moved.
Any discussion, councillors? Councillor Saravinovsky.
I'd just like to ask a question through the chair. Do we not do anything familiar like this?
Did we already do this? Is I think the substance of the question.
Through the chair, I think in the past we have done some briefings. I mean, most of the elements here reflect the annual program that we roll out each summer. I think what this is asking is for some transparency around the planning and prior to delivery, coming back to you with an outline of what is planned for the next season. So we can certainly do that.
Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare it carried. Councillor Waters abstaining himself. Item 13.7, Intersection Improvement Program, Bexley and Slade Roads, Bexley North. Move Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Naji. Councillor Poulos. Any discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare it carried. Do you want to invite Councillor Awada back into the room? Councillor Ryder. Item 13.8, notice of motion lease agreement for Kendall Street Reserve Sound Susi. Moved Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Dusku. Any discussion, councillors?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.9, Bayside 2028 Solar Eclipse Community Event. Moved Councillor Strong, seconded Councillor Curry. Councillor Strong.
Yeah, I've had this motion up my sleeve for a while now, but I thought this would be a good time to drop it. Total solar eclipse, I mean, you can't argue with that, and it falls on a Saturday, and yeah, we can bring everybody together in awe, curiosity and reflection. So yeah, Sydney will be in the path of totality for one of the most significant astronomical events Australia has seen this century. For a few moments in the middle of the day, the sky will darken, the temperature will drop a little, birds will go quiet, and thousands of people across the city will look up together. I know how powerful the eclipse experience can be. In 2002, I travelled to the Outbacks Eclipse Festival in Lyndhurst, South Australia, and that was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Thousands of people gathered in the desert, ravers, astronomers, family, artists, travellers, and when the totality hit, it was just the most amazing unifying thing. In these tricky times of division, I think it's such an astrological event is an important thing that, and Bayside is perfectly placed to do something really special here. Cattle Park has open sky visibility, accessibility, and has already become an important gathering space for multicultural festivals and community events. Family-friendly public science and culture event combines astronomy, First Nations sky knowledge, environmental education, music, food and community participation. So I appreciate the General Manager's comments suggesting this be incorporated directly into the draft 27-28 and 28-29 events program rather than requiring a standalone feasibility report. I'm comfortable with the approach if it helps streamline planning, allow staff to investigate the event in the broader context of Council's future programming and partnerships. So yeah, I commend this.
Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Curry.
Yeah, thank you for such forward planning, Councillor Strong, and an interesting initiative. I'm just wondering if you're open to just considering the comment by the General Manager that rather than another report...
Yeah, no, he's already agreed to that.
Is it in there?
Yes, I commend that. That's a good way to go.
Yeah.
So we need
Okay.
to
But it need to get
It will need to be...
Yeah, so I think the intent is that point 4 be edited to match with the General Manager's comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Must have
Any
missed
further
that.
discussion? All those in, you do need special glasses, unless you're Donald Trump. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.11, traffic in Bexley. Moved Councillor Barlow, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Barlow.
I'm just putting it up again. I think I've done this 5 times now over the years. It's just a reminder again to write to them because I think they seem to forget. So I'm just saying we send another letter to the ministers and that, because I was at the parliamentary inquiry at Bexley Masonic Hall. It was Shane Mallard. I couldn't remember his name at first. Shane Mallard and Wes Fang were there as part of the parliamentary. And Shane Mallard, I think he's no longer in council or parliament, he just said, oh, there's no traffic. He was just being smart. But so I just wanted to know, keep reminding them that we haven't forgotten, and hopefully that there'll be a solution. I don't know when, but we can only hope.
Councillor Barlow, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those...
Could I just make a suggestion
Douglas.
as an amendment that we, as a council, request to meet with the Premier to discuss the issue with him directly?
Sure. All right. The addition. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.12, public subscription service for council business papers. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Any discussion?
I just wanted to quickly present the reason for this motion. This has been actually something that I asked governance about last term of council that had requests from the community, because Georges River already provides this service where they get residents can sign up to get an email to their inbox when the papers are released. And since the change in the code of meeting practice and the residents are now unable to speak as much in the public forum unless it's on a motion. They can't speak on a report that's already been at committee. It's even more important that they are able to keep up to date with what's happening at the committee. And Amanda Wilson, who's a resident of Ward 1, actually raised this with me as a really big concern for her, that it's really hard for her to keep up with the business papers. So I think anything we can do to be more transparent as a governing body and to create more accessibility with our community is a good thing.
Any further discussion, councillors?
Councillor Ryder. Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I just want to move a foreshadowed motion on that one. Sorry, I meant to send it to, I'll read it slowly there. Okay, foreshadowed motion. Look, I hate the fact that we're always referring to the Inner West Council and the Georges River Council. We should be the leading council, not always looking at their business papers and copying what they're doing. We should be the ones that actually initiate that. Anyway, the foreshadowed motion, I mean, really, I mean, with the General Manager's comment, we're already moving towards having to do what that motion requires. So the foreshadowed that council notes that council business papers are already publicly available on council's website in accordance with legislative requirements and are accessible to all residents. So I'm sure, look, for the last 20 years that I've been here, residents that are interested in what we do here in this chamber, they've never failed to look at our website. And they've always looked at the website. We've got public forum. People come forward, and we've never had an issue with anyone complaining that they didn't know about the council meeting. So very simple. I think it's a lot less work on the staff, and we're moving towards having something electronically, I guess, from the General Manager's comment. Thank you.
Further discussion, councillors? Seconded, Councillor Bezic. Further discussion, councillors? So all those in favour of the original motion?
Do a right of reply,
sure.
please? So this is actually a common complaint I have from community, that they didn't know that council papers were, what was on the council papers, that this had been debated. I'm surprised that this has never come across your correspondence or community meetings. So personally, I think this is really important that we add this. It's a very simple thing. The council's already moving to a new service that will make this very easy, by the comment of the General Manager, which said, Council has commenced a project to replace the current council business paper system, which has functionality limitations. The project is anticipated to be completed this calendar. To enable notifications, Georges River's purchased a third-party digital and emailing platform. However, this functionality is included in the scope for Bayside's replacement system, yay, meaning that council will not need to purchase a third-party system. So it's going to be no cost. It gives us another connection point to our community. So I really would hope that councillors vote in favour of this motion.
So I think that there was a right of reply, but perhaps the point that Councillor Duska was about to make is, I think the point of the foreshadowed motion is to note that we're already doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a nod.
You don't need this.
So I think it is the point the General Manager is perhaps pointing to is that preparing a short report, when a short report saying we've already been doing, we're already doing this.
It's in motion. Okay, well, I think that's a fair call. So I can definitely remove point 2 from the motion. It wasn't clear to me from the General Manager's comment that we are actually planning to set up this public notification process. So could I just get some confirmation through the chair on that?
Well, I think that's the General Manager's comment, that it's anticipated that this will be in place by the end of the calendar year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's in the report, isn't
Yeah.
it? Thank you, Mr.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just didn't understand that. I understood the software was going to be available, not that they were necessarily going to enact it. So
It's going to be enacted. There we go. So all those in favour of the original motion? All those against? Declare it lost. Foreshadowed motion. All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Item 13.13, Teen Parks for Girls initiative. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. I moved this motion today because of lobbying from local mums and also conversation with local teachers that our teenage girls don't feel like they have enough safe public spaces. So quite simply, when we design our parks, unfortunately, they do not cater to girls. I love Barton Park. I go there often after dark with my two sons, and I have really noticed since daylight savings has ended that there's so many boys playing basketball, soccer, working out, hanging with friends. But where are all the girls? They're not there. Many girls stop using public spaces because they do not feel safe, comfortable or included. So this motion is simple. It asks us to include girls in the consultation process of a new park that's already happening. So I was going to move an amendment to the motion based on the General Manager's comment to make that clearer, because I can see that there is a more straightforward way that we can do that, so that we incorporate a project in the current operational year to make this happen rather than looking at the strategic approach of it. So it's a simpler motion. I think we've seen so much success with the Herways program. We had those great community consultations in Mascot and in Rockdale. The state government funded those, where we brought local women together, we walked through the streets, we talked about what are the safety issues. I was there as a participant, as a listener, and the results of those have been really quite profound. So in Rockdale, we have a beautiful footway mural. We have beautiful overhead lights that change colour depending on the event. We now have really cute little picnic tables so people can actually sit together. You don't feel like you're on parade walking down Rockdale Plaza in front of a bunch of old men drinking coffee. You actually feel like you've got somewhere to sit together. It's made a huge transformational difference. And additionally, the lights as well at Rockdale behind us at the Town Hall. These all came about because we went out as a community, as a council I should say, and we listened to our community. So that's what this motion is calling for. It's calling for us to involve local young women in the planning of a park as a pilot for having a Herways type approach to a town park. Now, I was at Bayside High today, and I was talking to one of the teachers there, Vicky, about how are the girls going with the amalgamation between the boys and the girls' high school. And she said, for the most part, it's great, but there are a few girls who I know, she said, who she knows, has issues at home where they don't feel safe, and school was their safe place. And now they feel more exposed. They don't have the confidence to get out there in the playground. It was really clear that women are really impacted even at school if they don't feel safe. And so I talked to the principal, Sophie, about this motion. I said, what do you think about this motion? And she said, I love it. I would love our Bayside High girls to be involved in the design of a local park. And I said, what would be the one thing, Sophie, that you would like me to take back to council, to share with councillors about what's a big issue for young girls? And hand on her heart, she said loneliness. She said loneliness is a really big issue for our young girls. They can connect with each other on devices, but they don't have safe places to go in public. They don't feel safe going to a skate park. I know that feeling. I know what it's like walking through Barton Park at night. You don't feel vulnerable. I mean, you do feel vulnerable. The lighting isn't strong enough. You know, you go down to the amazing fitness equipment after dark, but it's secluded. It's quite frankly rapey. You know, these are spaces that are not designed for women's safety. Women's safety means having passive surveillance. It means being surrounded by other people, by life, you know, and we haven't done that well yet in Bayside. So the other parts of this motion that draw on the research and the projects that have already been done in other countries and across Australia is incorporating basically swing parks. So that means it's a space where you feel like you want to sit together and have conversations. And this is not an exclusive space. This is not saying, okay, we can't have any boys or men there. This is a space that will cater to everybody, but will take consideration of what young girls need into the design process. Just like we take into consideration
toddlers into the design of a preschool or elderly people into the design of an aged care facility. We need to start making space for our girls and letting them take up space.
Councillor, is there any further discussion? Councillor Disco?
I'm just a little confused. Is this the Teen Park for Girls initiative?
Yes.
So a park solely for women? No. You've changed that now?
I never intended it to be a park solely for women. I think maybe that was how it was read. And look, I apologise if that's a clumsiness in the writing of trying to explain these concepts. It's always been a place for everybody. But what it does is it brings women, young women, into the chance in the co-design process. And we've seen that really successfully in council in other facilities. I think we've even won an award for that, General Manager. I can't recall what precinct it was, but we did a great co-design at St Joseph Banks Park. That's right. So it's extending on that. It's building on that real public consultation as part of a process. But for this niche group who haven't been involved in these sorts of co-design processes before.
Councillor Strong.
I'd just like to say, yeah, this is not about division, it's about design. And it's not a cultural statement, it's just social reality. It simply means we need to acknowledge that participation and inclusion are not always equal in practice, so good design will address that. I support this motion.
Further discussion, councillors. Councillor Naji.
Just clarification through you to the GM, and I'll be mad if I know that we weren't. All the designs that we do for parks, does that include for females and males, or have we designed out the teenage girls of public spaces? I thought we already do that, from toilets to playground equipments to everything. Do we cater for both genders and all ages? Sorry. Yeah.
I think that's a really quite a difficult thing to answer, because to this point, when we have designed, and I have to say, we don't do tweens very much at all. We tend to do young children's playgrounds, and then we move into more of the sporting facilities, for instance. This is a slightly different type of project, which will be spaces for those tweens, those slightly older young people. I think what the difference here is, this calls on us to really focus our consultation, our design outcomes with one gender, with one group. We haven't done that previously. We've normally, we haven't distinguished, apart from Her Way, which was very much about women's perception of safety. We've tended to consult very broadly, and we haven't focused on any particular part of a demographic when we've designed playgrounds or parks, master planning. I think gender hasn't been in the forefront of what we have thought that we needed to really focus on. This is flipping that around and saying, if our observations are that inadvertently we've designed things that potentially girls are not attracted to or don't feel safe in those spaces, this is, I guess, a chance to ask the question, should we do something a little bit differently? And I know I've talked to some of you about what that might look like. Conversation areas, swings for older kids, places where there's a real focus on safety and sociability. Is that?
Yeah,
that's it?
Response. I think Councillor Disco.
Yeah, I just note that the supporting evidence was a link to a paper out of the UK that was all about a female-only park. So I'm not really in favour of a female-only park. I think that has unintended discrimination. I think it could be just, you know, a very simple alternative of better lighting, more passive surveillance, a more inclusive, family-friendly, gender-inclusive, all gender-inclusive design and facilities in upcoming projects. And I would really caution against having a one-gender scoped-out park.
Councillor Saravinovsky, I think, was first, and then Councillor Awada.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to ask a question through you to the General Manager. Has Council, prior to this motion, been made aware of any teenage girls being excluded or being felt uncomfortable being reported at any of our facilities or parks?
Through the Mayor, no, that hasn't been brought to our attention.
Councillor Awada.
Just to be a bit of help, I might actually move a foreshadowed motion. I know Councillor Douglas had good intention, and she's already clarified that it wasn't only female-only park. I think I sent you the email with the foreshadowed. I mean, I guess my concern is it's got to be misunderstood. The term teen park for girls may create confusion about whether the space is intended to be exclusive gender, segregation, or restricted in use. So how do you deal with that? There may become concern from other demographics who could reasonably request dedicated spaces as well. So I think with the foreshadowed motion, hopefully that will encapsulate what Councillor Douglas have in mind. Have we got it on the screen? Okay. So one, that Council notes the importance of designing inclusive public spaces that support the safety, well-being and participation of young people, including teenage girls. So we've got that in there. Number two, that Council, as part of an existing open space, recreation, youth and public domain planning process, investigate opportunities to improve the accessibility, safety, comfort, activation of public space for young people within the Bayside LGA. And we could probably add young people and teenage girls, I guess, comma, within the Bayside LGA. And number three, that Council provide an update through existing strategic reporting processes where relevant opportunities are identified. So I'm hoping that will cover your motion as well as, and the intention is there, which is great. I respect that.
Councillor Brederhoft.
I can't see the core design process and the specific focus on there in that foreshadowed motion. And I think to speak in favour of the motion again, as it is, infrastructure that we build technically is built for all. Our biases, though, often means they're built for a certain population. Basketball courts are usually dominated with boys and young men, and there is a lot of organised sport, half pipes, these are all boys' sports. So where exactly, when you go to parks, have you seen girls hanging out, teenage girls? And I have a daughter myself, she's a teenage girl, she doesn't hang out in parks. Now, part of it is safety, there's no lights. We went to Griffith on there's part of the Herway, and they had a specific focus on teenage girls, what they needed in this little area where there was a park and walkway. And they engaged with them solely with girls and they were migrant girls, they were from diverse range of backgrounds. They face safety issues that nobody understands but them. If we don't ask them, we never know what their issues are. The bus stop in Griffith now has charging stations, for example. Why? Because girls don't feel safe at bus stops waiting. They want to be able to always have a charged phone in case something is happening to them, in case they feel threat, they can call people. That is a really improvement. It's charged by solar energy. They said in Griffith, nobody would have thought about this, but these girls did because they think about safety. You're going to deny this safety to them if you don't focus on these girls? Is that what you're going to do with these parks? We've heard this woman here talking about how important it is to look into girls' safety. This is a simple motion to really engage with them, co-design, ask them, yet you wanting really to push that back? We're half the population, and I cannot believe what I'm hearing. So really think you should consider what you are doing with the foreshadowed motion and vote in favour of this motion.
Sorry, can Councillor Barlow, Councillor Curry?
I have a daughter. She's a bit older than your daughters, but anyway. What I'm hearing around this table, and I'm really concerned, I'm worried about the lighting in the parks. Well, I wouldn't think your daughter would be out there at that time of night. It is dangerous then.
The boys are.
The boys might be, they are, but the girls, you haven't got girls are not usually roaming the streets. Boys, I can think, but I mean, I'm designing it. The thing is, you're going to take the Youth Advisory Committee without any design. They haven't got any design qualifications. That's the problem. That was the problem I had at the beginning. My daughter's in design, so I thought, well, they could pick what they like, but it doesn't work half the time. I know every park around my area has tables and a seating down, so it's changing, evolving, because at one stage, when I read it the first time, you had to be female, and I thought, well, how are you going to stop someone else walking into that park? So the wording is changing slowly, but it really worries me that you say there's no lighting if girls usually are not out that late at night. Well, not when they're 13 or 14. They shouldn't be. If they are, you could have a problem child.
These problem children roaming the streets. Can I just add a quick comment before Councillor Curry speaks? That I think I saw Councillor Douglas largely nodding along as Councillor Awada was speaking. Perhaps if we just included the word co-design into that motion, then I think that could become the motion, and I think there's be a lot less ambiguity because it's, as Councillor Awada's motion, I think is very simple and clear. I think it's just, Councillor Awada, would you be happy to just add co-design is included into your foreshadowed motion? And then that becomes the motion. But I think this is a great idea. I think on the previous comments, like the intent of this is great. When we build a football field, there are the number of young women playing soccer has tripled in the last 2 years, but it's still a sport dominated 75-25 by young men. So every time we spend money building a football field, we're not making anyone would think is a biased decision, but it is benefiting one gender over the other. So doing something like this, I think I thought the reading was really interesting, and I think it's an important thing to do. So yeah.
Could I please just get some clarity on how we resolve this, because we've got a foreshadowed motion.
Well, I think you could just adopt Councillor Awada's motion as your motion with the word co-design included.
Could I see that on the screen with the word co-design, please? So investigate opportunities. I'll take my number one.
Put your number one as the first one.
Could we try that? Put the number one in.
That reference is specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you happy with that, Councillor Awada?
So put Heidi's number one, and then the rest will flow.
Yeah.
Can I just perhaps quickly also respond to Councillor Barlow's comment that I think one of the important principles of co-design is to recognise what people can valuably provide input to. I don't think you're asking a 13-year-old to come up with the architectural plan for a park. You're getting feedback about what they're interested in. Like you. Well, perhaps you can do it in a sensible way where you're not just providing useless questions. You can helpfully seek people's feedback about what they like and don't like in a realistic way. Yeah.
I'm happy to second.
You don't give the 4-year-old a piece of paper and tell them to design a park. You work them through things that are useful, that they can provide feedback to in a realistic way.
Look, I want to thank the council for being mostly quite respectful about this. Like, I wasn't meaning to be divisive. This is meant to be about inclusivity. So I really do appreciate the respectful debate and coming together to find solutions. I do think it's important that
young girls do feel safe at 13 and 14 to walk the streets, to go to the park. I mean, young boys have that. Why do we have to have a differentiation between what young girls are safe to do and what young boys are safe to do? I think that's quite sexist, actually. And I want to create a Bayside where young girls feel safe to go to the park at 5 o'clock in the evening in winter and sip a chai tea or a chat time or whatever you call those bubble teas and hang out together under beautiful pink fluoro lights and have a conversation and feel like they've got a social space so that we can do our part to help with that loneliness that Principal Sophie from Bayside Council spoke about. I remember being a young woman. I remember the cat calling, the dog whistling, the shouts of lewd suggestions from cars going past. I grew up in Newcastle, so you have to forgive Novocastrians for that. But, you know, I think actually this suggestion from the General Manager about the space at Hazelhurst Reserve at Brighton is a perfect one, because we already have a really busy hub of young children there. It's very visible. There's a lot of passive surveillance. There's a supermarket across the road. It's a bit tucked away, so it's not in the main street where all the hoons are. It's a little safe community park, and if we can extend that and make that a place where everybody feels safe, but particularly young women, I think we will have done something great for our community. So thank you for considering this.
All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Item 13.14, notice of motion, Bay Street Future Roland Road classification review following opening of the M6, which just asks for Transport for New South Wales to provide us with some reports and information. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoff. Any discussion, councillors? Any discussion, councillors? All those in favour?
But my comment is, why put this up now? Why model now? It could be 3 to 5 years before they even think about finishing it. I did meet someone the other day that's been seconded because she's a problem solver. I said, well, good luck. I said, there is no water now. The garden centre has to pay for town water now. There's no bore water at all. They've ruined that. Personally, and everyone says, why don't they just fill the hole and forget about it? So I feel that this is jumping the gun, and I think why would we start modelling now? And it's got to be at least 3 years, and who knows what the traffic will be like in 3 years. So I think really you should park it for now and think about it see if they even start. I mean, we don't know what they're doing. So we've been lucky that we got all the good work done with the President Avenue and the walkway and that. So I feel this should be, I would suggest that you look at it maybe in 6 months to 12 months, if they've even started the work on it. So to me, it's a waste of time at the moment.
I think if we want a report from Transport for New South Wales in 3 years, now is the perfect time to start asking. We should have asked about 2 years ago. Any further discussion, councillors?
I mean, I will just say I did consult with Director Peter Barber on this to see if this was the right time or not, because I think we do need to lay the foundations now when this is about to start work again. It will take time. It's no work to council. So from my understanding from Director Peter Barber, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Chair, I believe that council already meets with the M6 Traffic Committee every quarter. And so this would just be folded into a meeting that they're already having. So it's actually no additional staff time, no additional reporting time.
All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Questions on notice? No. Declare the meeting closed at 9:54 p.m.
Very good.
The game's still running.